What is going on, everyone? This is Miles Dompier, and welcome to the 107th episode of Xbox Chaturdays. Today, I am stoked to be joined by the illustrious, the man with the million himself, and the ongoing guest of Jez Corden's Xbox 2 podcast, Rand al Thor, 19. Rand, how you doing on this fine Saturday, my dude?
Excuse me, Miles? Did you call Xbox 2 Jez's podcast?
Jez Corden's Xbox 2. That's how it comes up in Apple Podcasts for me.
Is it really? Does it really come up as Jez
comes
Corden's
up as Jez
Xbox
Corden's Xbox 2. I'm sorry. I don't know if that's a recent change, if you went into the back end and, pulled a fast one on you, but that's how it pops up for me. That's how it's in my Spotify.
Hey, you want to be the new co-host of Xbox 2?
Yeah, let's do it. This is now welcome to Xbox 2 Part 2.
Yeah, we can. It's me and Miles coming at you live Fridays. We can even be Miles Dompier's Xbox.
Oh, okay, there we go. That has a nice ring to it. Yes, sounds a little fancier than Jez Corden. Am I right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm shocked that Jez would do this to me, but I'm not surprised though.
No,
I'm not surprised.
No.
But I'm happy to be here. You basically asked me to come on like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well,
maybe.
Sounds like you're doing nothing, so hopefully you're coming on. Appreciate you, man. It's been a week. It's been one hell of a week in the gaming sphere. We are on the precipice of game showcase season. PlayStation kicked it off this week with the PlayStation Showcase, so we're going to be talking all about that. We're going to be talking about our predictions for Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Game Showcase, why Final Fantasy 16 skipped Xbox. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us factions and so much more. But Rand, everyone here already knows you've been on the show a bunch, but for the people joining us for the first time, give us a quick breakdown of who you are and where folks can find you.
Well, I'm a Foam Stars pro. I'm esports pro. But seriously, I'm Rand al Thor 19, the man with the million, Xbox content creator extraordinaire. Do the Xbox 2 with Jez Corden. It's Rand and Jez, not Jez Corden's Xbox 2. We do that usually every Friday on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rand al Thor 19.
Oh, now it's Rand's channel. Whoa, what happened?
It is my channel. So on YouTube, and also it's on the podcast apps all across the world. And I make videos here and there from time to time, engage in what people would call some clickbaitage, which you have to in these days, or maybe more salacious titles with some
sent me your
thumbnails.
You sent me a preview of your latest thumbnail with crying Jim Ryan and art.
Hey, it got the job done. It got the job done. Okay, you got to get people to click, and they saw that Jim was looking disgusted, and Phil was just laughing, and they're like, "I got to click on this. I got to find out."
What I want to see from you going forward is I want to see shirtless, jacked Phil, just oiled up, as your go-to for every thumbnail. Just sexy Phil Spencer on the cover, just front and center.
Colt has been trying to get me on camera, right? Like, we need to get Rand on camera.
I've been trying to get you on camera too.
Yeah, true. Maybe one day, 100K when it gets here. But even then, he's like, and once we do, we're putting you on the thumbnails. And I'm like, oh no, YouTuber thumbnails. Oh no. So I can be in the echelon. He's like, we'll just put a filter over you like Mr. Beast does.
Yeah.
And you could be like...
Slap that contrast to 500, just wash you out completely.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
I don't know,
let's get you on the Dreamcast guy caliber, all right? Let's get you to that echelon, that infamous tier where you will live in YouTube infamy forever. Let's get you there. That's my dream for you.
The facial reactions, right? Like the disgusted look or the really excited look. Yeah, the one where you're pointing to your left at something, or the one where you're just thinking. Yeah, I need to master all those.
So many opportunities there. That's the beauty of being on cam, is people can take your face and just Photoshop it on the most disgusting, horrendous things. I've seen some scary, disturbing Dreamcast guy Photoshops out there, of his thumbnails in some very risque situations. So that's the risk when you put your face out there on the internet. Sometimes people do some stuff with it, Rand. So that
is true. Maybe I could be more like Spawn Wave and just have this one reaction, just
Yeah, exactly. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, don't give them too much to work with, Rand, because if you do, they'll run wild. They'll run wild. But I appreciate you, man. We always have a lot of fun, so I'm excited. You were the first person I reached out to when I was planning my prediction show. I thought about getting a panel involved and some more people involved, but I was like, I gotta at least have Rand. Because we can go down the gauntlet, we can have some fun, we can talk about everything. And then this week with the PlayStation showcase, with The Last of Us, with everything going on, there's a lot. We have a lot to dive into. So
you couldn't even get a PlayStation content creator? Like, where's Badbit? Badbit doing the rounds.
He's going to be on Xbox era this week. I just had him on recently, so otherwise
he's actually going to be on Xbox 2+1 next week.
So he's making the rounds. Boy, I love him.
He is making the rounds. Probably going to be on ILP on Sunday.
There we go. Exactly. You got to have that PlayStation love. You got to have that PlayStation rep. All right, this is an Xbox show.
Let's talk the PlayStation showcase with an Xbox content creator.
Yeah, that's what we're doing, bro. We're gonna just rip it apart, brother.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about media bias.
Exactly. Yes, I've been enjoying that as someone who works at IGN. It's been a delightful week for me on Twitter. Let me tell you. But before we get into all of that, I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's tuning in. Appreciate all of you tuning in each and every week. If you are enjoying the show, if you're new to the show, hit that like button, share it out, subscribe. I'm very close to 2,000 subs on this little channel over here. So if you want to help me out, I would love to hit 2,000 subs before the end of May. We might be able to do it. So if you're not subbed, smash that sub button. But appreciate all of you. We're going to have some fun, some quick housekeeping before we get into the show proper. If you haven't joined already, Xbox Chaturdays has a fun little Discord channel. There's a link in the description if you're interested in talking about video games outside of the podcast. Xbox Chaturdays also has a merch store. I got some sick death metal designs up. I've seen some of you tag me on Twitter with your orders coming in, repping that Xbox Chaturdays merch. Warms my soul. Love to see that. Some member shout-outs. To the people, throwing down money, supporting the show. Appreciate each and every one of you. We got Huffy Bear CH, we got Sinful Sadie TTV, Goldshell WPR, Christopher Davis, Buddy McClure, Rachel, Derek Griffin Jones, V Simcoe, Anthony, and my mom. In the loyalist here, we have John Grasula, Patrick, and Nick W. An extra special shout out to the producers Matt Valdez, Yo Donnie Quezada, Hargi Chani, and Mr. Joanna Dark. Appreciate all of you. That really means a lot. And I'm going to get to a couple super chats before we get going here. What do we got? Okay, first and foremost, we have Nick W. who says, what do you think are the worst E3 press conferences? Oof. Is there one that comes to mind for you?
The one that comes to mind is like the infamous Sony one from way back in the day with Ridge Racer.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was like 2006, I want to say. Flip over the giant enemy crab and hit its weak spot. I mean, that one is like all-time terrible for sure. That one easily comes to mind. I'm sure there's like some, maybe there was like a Konami one, where they like, I remember like the people on stage, but I can't remember what game company it was for. I just have this image in my mind. What about you? Because I don't watch any of the Nintendo ones, so I'm not really up to date on any Nintendo stuff. Xbox, they've had some stinkers here and there. I didn't particularly like 2019 very much, and but like all-time worst is probably that PlayStation one from 2006.
It's tough for me to pick one because we experienced all of the 2000s, and the 2000s were a wild and wacky time for games marketing and E3. So it's hard for me to pinpoint one specific show, but there were so many moments from the Just Dance segments to the reveal of Wii Music and to all of these like iconic moments that were just so goofy and so weird and so uncomfortable. So it's hard for me to pick one, but just go to any mid 2000s year on YouTube and type in E3 and you will find some just delightful cringe, the most awkward, uncomfortable interactions you can imagine. So it's hard for me to boil it down to one, but there's a lot to choose from. Yeah, 2006, again, of that prime era, of the time when things were weird and people didn't really know how to put on a show. There's a lot to work with there. AC Too Cold. Cheers, Miles and Rand. Much love. Quick question to Rand. How on Apex Legends do you have 46,500 kills and 12 million damage, but you're level 77? You're cracked at Apex, Rand. Holy crap. Is that true? Are the stats real?
That ain't me. I haven't played Apex since that the year it came out. I only played it for 150 hours, so that definitely ain't me. I'll tell you that much.
Fake stats getting thrown around.
Yeah, probably just the Rand al Thor, like someone else's name, not me.
Not the one and only, not the official. You need to put that in your handle.
Yeah.
The official
the
Rand al
OG Rand al Thor 19.
Okay, Rand, before we talk about all of the developments this week, before we talk about the drama surrounding everything this week, I want to know what games you've been loving this past week.
Loving, not hating, but loving.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to talk about some other stuff.
How far back you want me to go?
Just what have you been playing recently that's, warmed your soul a little bit?
I finished up Star Wars Jedi Survivor like last week.
Okay.
Loved it. Was my most anticipated game of the year. And it lived up to my expectations, except for the fact that the performance was poo-poo. On the Series X.
You would say that?
Dude, that was probably the worst performance mode I've ever seen in the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. It's some areas solid, but the main kind of Kobo area very rough. It obviously didn't impact my enjoyment of the game. I'm just kind of thinking of like, man, what if this was like a solid 60? Probably like it even more. But I mean, I love Fallen Order, and I was like, oh man, Respawn doing something else other than Titanfall and Apex Legends. I was like, and then it was good. This one's even better. And it's like, oh man, what a studio. Respawn, what a studio. They can do a shooter. Now they can do basically a Souls Light, right? But yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I just finished the other night Planet of Lana.
Oh, I want to hear about it because I've been so busy. That's been on my radar for such a long time. I've been so excited about that game, but I'm working on some projects I can't talk about yet.
What you working on?
I'll be able to talk about it on Tuesday. But
Tuesday just so happens that's the day Diablo 4 embargo.
No, I could talk about Diablo, but I can't talk about what else I've been doing. So, Planet of Lana has been on the back burner, but I'm
Planet
ready.
of Lana is really good. Very good, actually, for what it is. It is a similar game to the Limbos, the Insides. That's kind of side-scrolling puzzle action-ish game. It features like a boy and his like kind of little pet, and you kind of you work together to get past obstacles, solve some puzzles, get past some enemies that want to kill you. It's a beautiful looking game. Like, I think it's like hand-drawn, watercolor sort of thing. Not long, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's about 3 hours, 3.5 hours, depending how long you get stuck. Yeah. And some of the puzzles are kind of you'll skid them right away because there aren't any that are really like you'll sit there and like you feel like you need an IQ of 200 to figure out. The drawbacks is that there's not a lot of variety in the puzzles, so you'll be doing some of the same things often, or like, oh, I just did this one, and then you kind of do a similar puzzle a little bit later on. So like the puzzles kind of start to repeat, but because the game's so short, it doesn't. You're not like, oh, again. And I guess maybe the walking speed and the climbing speed are a little bit slow because he's a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have to control your pet, that's a little bit awkward to like kind of tell him where to go sometimes. Which is these things are kind of like keeping it from being on the inside level. Because when I look at a game like this genre, Inside's like the 10 out of 10 masterpiece.
That's the
all
gold
these
standard.
games,
Yeah.
like the Little Nightmares and stuff, like all these sort of similar games are all chasing Inside. They're all chasing Limbo. And this one does really well. It almost gets there. There's a few things that kind of keep it from reaching it, but man, it was such a breath of fresh air just playing that game, seeing that the watercolor and everything that goes along with it. Some of the puzzles are actually very good, and they really try to connect you to your little pet. Sometimes those puzzles work out really well, and I really enjoyed it. In fact, I enjoyed it so much that I started a second playthrough because there's an achievement for not dying.
Oh,
I was like, let me play through it again and not die so I can get all the achievements because I like the game so much.
I love hearing that. It's one of those games that when it was revealed, I was immediately sold on the pitch, the art style. Like you said, Limbo is a masterpiece. We've had Inside, another masterpiece. We've had a lot of games in that genre. But
Little Nightmares are really good.
Even going back before that, I grew up playing games like Heart of Darkness on PS1 and Abe's Odyssey, which were very much those side-scrolling puzzle platformers. And that's like a very nostalgic era for me. And there were a lot of incredible games that at the time kind of went under the radar because, gaming was a lot smaller. That genre was especially niche for that time. But now that we're decades removed, we've had this resurgence of games that really do it well. So without spoilers, because I want to play through it and I don't want it spoiled, but do the narrative beats hit? Is there an impactful overarching narrative that has a good conclusion in this?
Yeah, the conclusion's good. I mean, the narrative. So, like, they speak a language you don't understand, right? Like, your name is Lana, and basically the story is machines come from outer space and take your family, take your sister, and you're on a journey to get her back. But because the dialogue is, you can't understand it, it's basically the same words repeated. Your sister's name's Ilo, and the little pet you have is Mui. So you'll be running, and they'd be like, I love you. So it's a lot of that dialogue where I could feel some people maybe like rolling their eyes, like, really? And the story essentially is told through more environmental imagery.
Okay.
Right? That sort of things where you'll come to a spot and it looks like, oh, it's on the wall, there's a cave painting. Oh, and on the next wall, there's another one. And you get a sense of like, oh, this is what happened before. So you can kind of piece together the history of the world and the people and what's really going on. But that emotional core between you and your pet and your family, I do think pays off. But not like one of those things where like tears are flowing down your eyes. Like you're not like crying by the end of it. You're just like,
it's not What Remains of Edith
solid.
Finch, where you're just
what you expect to happen with a pet companion for the whole game happens. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, because I think unconventional storytelling can be great. Inside is a prime example as well. There's not really there's not dialogue in that game. The story is told through the atmosphere, through the world. So I love that style of storytelling where I can fill in the blanks. I can interpret this art.
Yeah, and you can do this too, because it's like, oh, you start seeing some of the, okay, so this is what's happening, and there's nothing outright that tells you. It's just like you see some pictures, and then you're like, oh, this is oh, okay, right. So you make up your own sort of conclusions based on it, but I think it's definitely worth playing through. I mean, I know it's not your co-op game that you enjoy with your bros, where you're all playing some, I don't know, what you guys been playing lately. Well, probably
let me tell you what we've been playing, because
whatever.
It's a weird one. So the other night, after grind, because I've been doing Tears of the Kingdom video work for IGN, so that's been a grind, a just brutal grind to do that. So that's been consuming most of my time, has been recording Shrine videos for IGN. So that's been a bulk of my time. So when I'm on the other side of that, when my brain is fried, I'm looking for something to play. And I went to the Xbox store and I saw this game called Warlander. And I was like, what the hell is this? This looks so weird. This looks so generic. But I saw it was a free-to-play MOBA. And I was like, okay. free-to-play MOBA. Now, color me intrigued. And then I did some digging, and I learned it was from it's the developers of Happy Wars. If you legacy Xbox fans
I remember
definitely
Happy Wars.
remember Happy Wars. It was this siege-based competitive multiplayer game. So they've taken that fundamental concept, reskinned it in a modern art style, and made it this 100-player MOBA. And so it's this giant war zone, this giant battlefield. And you have your different classes. You got a cleric, you got a wizard, you got a knight, you have your towers. So if you like stuff like Smite, League of Legends, and Happy Wars, it's those two worlds coming together. So you're pushing the lane, you're trying to breach the castle walls, and you're trying to destroy the enemy's core. It's got these cataclysm effects where you can summon a giant tornado or rain meteors on the ground. The castle walls explode. I'm not going to tell you it's a great game, because it's not necessarily a great game, but I've played it every single day for the past 5 or 6 days, because it's just something about the loop. Maybe it's the nostalgia of Happy Wars and I just want that, but something about the loop is compelling enough to keep me coming back to this game. So if you haven't checked it out, it's free. It's actually I looked last night, it's the third top it's the third top free game right now. It's above Fortnite right now on Xbox. So clearly some other Xbox fans are connecting with it. But if you've been missing that Happy Wars itch, that's been the go-to multiplayer game this week. That's been the game the squad's been playing basically to bide time until Diablo hits. But yeah, surprisingly, Warlander is a lot of fun. It's got some pay-to-win stuff that's problematic for sure. It's a grind, as you'd expect with a free-to-play game, so it's, that's going to be a problem for some folks, but the overall loop itself, as someone who likes MOBAs, has been enjoyable. So I've been having fun. Have you checked that out? Have you seen it?
No, this is the first time. I think I've seen you playing it, but I haven't looked to actually see what the game is. So
yeah, it's worth checking out. Again, I'm not going to tell you it's a great game.
Did you get into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre tech test or whatever they're running?
No.
I know you be loving those games.
See, I'm again torn. That's another thing that they reached out to me. I got invited out to Texas to go check out this event for the game. And again, my schedule, my slate right now is so packed. So I didn't have time. I won't have time to check out Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I did play it back in October of last year. So that is something that I have gone hands-on with, and I'm curious, and I've watched some streams of it. So it looks like they've, made some changes. They're iterating on it. But if you're unfamiliar, it's coming to Xbox Game Pass on day one, but it's going to be a 3 versus 4 asymmetrical horror game. So unlike Dead by Daylight, where there's 1 killer, there's 3 killers and 4 survivors. And so it is an interesting dynamic. One person plays as Leatherface, one person plays as the hitchhiker, and then one person plays as the cook. And they all have their own specific roles. Obviously, everyone, is trying to lure the survivors to Leatherface to kill them. But I like it. I'm excited for it to come out. I think Xbox Game Pass is going to be a huge boost for that. And based on the Twitch numbers and the reaction, it seems like the community is very interested to see how this lands. And as a horror fan and as a multiplayer fan, let's go, baby. I'm here for it. I'm ready. So haven't played it this weekend. Probably won't. But I'm excited for that full launch in August. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think August is
August. Yeah, August. We got some big games coming up next week. We got Street Fighter 6 and Diablo 4.
Dude, the season's upon us. This year's been
this year's been crazy with some stuff, bro.
I guess this whole year's been the season. It's just been nonstop.
Yeah.
We've had Dead Space, we've had Resident Evil, we've had Star Wars, we've had Hogwarts Legacy,
Hi-Fi Rush.
Dude, it's been a gauntlet, bro. Tears of the Kingdom. It's just been one game, one massive game after massive game. Tears of the what now? Tears of the Goat? Tears of the
Diablo,
game. Tears of the Game of the Year 2023.
Final Fantasy 16, Starfield coming up, Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2, Mirage, Alone in the Dark, a new Call of Duty. This year's banging, bro. This is a good year.
Dude, I'm
to mention indie games. Planet of Lana is really good. I played Sifu this year on Xbox. Well, I played it the year before on PlayStation as well. Sounds like a cat game. Stray is going to come to Xbox this year too.
Cat game. Ravenlock. I really enjoyed my time with Ravenlock. Another short, sweet adventure. There's been no shortage of games at all. Every single time I look at the store, there's like 4 things that I want to play that I can't. And that's, as much as we talk about the question marks surrounding the games industry and the uncertain future of certain business practices, when I look at the here and the now, it's hard for me to complain about gaming, really, because There's always something for me to play. There's always something I'm excited about. So again, I'm not getting my Phantom Dust, and I could fixate on that and say, until I get Phantom Dust,
You'll
the gaming
never get
industry,
Phantom Dust.
the gaming industry is forever dead to me until I get Phantom Dust. But no, that's not how I feel.
There's a universe out there where that Phantom Dust game wasn't canceled, and you're enjoying it right now. But
that's the good timeline. We're kind of in the dark timeline, but there's a chance for it to course correct. There's a chance for those two timelines to reconvene. All right. Or am I? No.
Let it go, Miles. Let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been coming to terms with it. It hurts, when to let it go.
At least
something you love.
At least we got Inspector Gadget coming to Xbox this year.
We got
whenever it comes out.
The demand was heard. Now a lot of Xbox fans are going to have to buy Inspector Gadget out of obligation.
Nobody's buying that game. Nobody's buying that game, Miles.
I saw a lot of Xbox fans enraged that game is skipping Xbox, and they're like, "Okay, we'll bring it to Xbox." And now everyone's like,
"Oh, that was just a rallying point for all the games that skip, like all the Square Enix games, all the JRPGs, or all the games in general." Xbox fans just took their frustration out on them for
poor Inspector Gadget. He's out here just trying to earn a living. All right. Yes, but no, I understand. We're going to be talking about that. That's going to be our next big topic here. But before we dive into that, I want to give a shout out to the 252 people joining us live for Xbox Chaturdays. I see amazing people in the chat. We got Space Dovahkiin. We got Paris Lily,
Paris is here?
Paris here, and he said something awful. I'm here to boo Miles' terrible gaming taste and praise Rand for his superior gaming takes.
Paris, June, Xbox 2+1, me, you, and Jez. It's time.
Paris. Don't amplify Paris's bad takes, all right? Don't. He doesn't need it.
Paris wants. He always says, "Why do I gotta wait for so long to be on Xbox 2+1?" June is the time, my friend. I haven't had you scheduled in for June since we started the show. I'm like, I want Paris once the Xbox showcase is over, so we can talk about the future,
the aftermath, the fallout.
I want Paris. In June.
Well, you know what, Rand? Jez told me I was going to be on Xbox 2+1 like 6 months ago. What happened to that? Huh?
6 months ago? What?
Yeah. Yeah, do I need to send you the DMs? What's up? What's going on?
I mean, I don't even know if we've done even 6 shows. What are you talking about?
Anywho, a lot of amazing people. Again, if you are new, if this is your first time tuning in, we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Hit that subscribe button, getting really close to 2,000 subscribers. Would love to hit that milestone before the end of May. And Rand, actually, let me make sure I'm not missing any super chats here. Quick one from Nick W says, check out Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun. It's a great FPS. It looks great. It's a throwback.
Yeah, it does look cool. I'm really looking forward to Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2.
Yeah, that's looking great.
I really enjoyed the 360 game, and I thought, we won't get a sequel, and then we are getting a sequel, and it's coming this year, and it looks spectacular.
Yeah, there's been a lot of surprises. That's coming this year. Alone in the Dark, that randomly, what was it, last night or the night before? They're like, guess what? That's coming this year, and there's a playable demo on the Xbox store right now, so I haven't checked it out, but it's there. You can play it. That's coming in October, shortly after Alan Wake 2, so it's...
which is, I'll say that is a miss.
That's not the right call.
You're coming Alone in the Dark, which is kind of survival horror-ish, coming the week after Alan Wake 2. Don't know about that one. Don't know about that one.
Again, we all have all these teams have fiscal targets. They all have internal expectations. They all have goals. But one thing I'll constantly say is, I don't care who you are. You need to be aware of what else is coming out. It doesn't matter how big your game is. You need to know. You need to read the room, and you need to know that people only have a certain amount of money to spend in a given month. And when you look at, as a horror fan in October, if there's one game you're buying, it is Alan Wake 2. It is 100% going to be Alan Wake 2. And so as much as I'm excited about Alone in the Dark, I'm going to have to weigh that and say, oh man, that's 1 week basically after Alan Wake 2. Oh, that's a lot. That's a big ask. So I'm excited for it. I will play it eventually. I'm going to have to, juggle some things now to make it work. All right. But I know October, when it comes to horror, that's prime time, baby. We're going to see 500 horror games ship in October because that's just the month. Spooky season's in full swing. So I get it. I get it from that perspective. But also time and resources. Rand!
We already had horror season. It was in May when Redfall launched.
Oh, we're going to be talking about our predictions for the Xbox show. We're going to be talking about expectations, the future of Xbox. But let me paint a picture for me as an Xbox fan this year. So I've talked about this. I've gotten some heat for it. Like Starfield, for me, I'm excited because it's a new Bethesda IP, but I'm not a big sci-fi RPG fan. It's just not my genre. So when I look at Xbox in 2023, Starfield for me just never was the big game. So I was more excited about Redfall. That was the game I was more hyped about. It had co-op, it was horror, I was ready to play it. And so I'm still excited about the future of Xbox, even even after my most anticipated confirmed Xbox game for 2023 ended up being their worst reviewed game in a long time. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is Starfield isn't the game for me necessarily. I will play it day one, absolutely. But I was the Xbox fan who was championing Redfall. So there's cause for me to maybe be a little more down, a little more disheartened, a little more uncertain of the future. But I'm still keeping my head up. I'm still forever an optimist. So I'll say that just before we get into some of these other conversations about the future of Xbox. Rand.
Yes.
Every time a JRPG skips Xbox, you send me a nasty DM. You say, look, nasty. Another one, Miles. You say, nasty. Look, you freaking loser dork, you big JRPG weeb. Look, another game. I know. But you do. You DM me every time, and it happens a lot. I have a lot of DMs from you where you're like, guess what? This isn't coming to Xbox. And as we've seen, a lot of Xbox fans have grown impatient. They've grown tired of seeing that, and they've asked big questions like, yo, where is Final Fantasy VII Remake? Why isn't Final Fantasy XIV on Xbox? Phil Spencer publicly talked about bringing Final Fantasy XIV to Xbox. Final Fantasy XVI is an exclusive. So Square Enix is the most obvious standout, the biggest prime example of a major publisher that just seems to have not a huge interest in bringing games to Xbox or, doing consistent business with Xbox. And that's got people frustrated and rightfully upset. I always talk about in my position, I'm grateful because I have an Xbox, I have a Switch, and I have a PS5. So I can just play wherever those games are. But there are people who only have one platform, and there are Xbox fans who only have an Xbox. And realistically, I'm not expecting every single person who plays video games to have every single console, because that's a big ask. That is a huge financial ask of someone. So from their perspective, I understand. If you're a big JRPG fan and you only have an Xbox, I'm sorry.
You made the wrong choice.
I'm sorry. That sucks. And there are people in that position. So understandably, they have some questions. And we don't typically get answers. I've done previous reports. I've done digging. I've contacted PR. I've contacted publishers. I've spoken to people privately about what's the reasoning here? What's going on behind the scenes that makes it so games like Final Fantasy aren't exclusive to PlayStation or skip Xbox? And we don't get a lot of official statements. But there was an interview this week where we did get an official statement from someone involved with Final Fantasy XVI about why there is exclusivity on PlayStation. So I want to talk about that because in an interview with Game Informer, producer Yoshida had this to say when asked about how the company chooses which platforms to support and when to buy into exclusivity deals. Quote, Final Fantasy is one of Square Enix's most important franchises, up there with Dragon Quest and the Kingdom Hearts series. When we do begin development, we do approach multiple platforms, multiple companies about releasing the game, and when you approach them, they're going to come back to us with their offers. Square Enix also noted that the deal also offers them high-level platform support with PlayStation engineers, which implies that Xbox does not or was not willing to offer that same level of support. Rand, I know you're not a huge fan of this genre, but what's your read on this statement? I've seen people in the community say that I don't buy this. I don't think that's the truth. What's your read when you see somebody from Square Enix talk about exclusivity in this way?
I mean, I kind of raised my eyebrow a little bit about, exclusivity in Square. I mean, you would figure a company like Square would want their games to be everywhere because they complain about their games sometimes not selling enough. and talking about how they want their games to be these big global hits.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's not going to happen if you're going to limit it to a single console. I mean, I understand like Final Fantasy 16 probably can't work on the Switch, but you're missing out on a huge audience not being on the Switch at all. And then, there's Xbox. So, some people like, hey, nobody buys JRPGs here. And I'm sure the numbers would say that people buy JRPGs less here than they would PlayStation or Nintendo. But Xbox is still a big brand.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any reason to doubt or think that he's lying. But also, I don't necessarily believe he also offered, like, he went to Microsoft and was like, what would you pay us for Final Fantasy 16? I sort of feel like that is kind of just something that's kind of isn't necessarily true. I mean, I could see them making their games and then going to PlayStation and being like, hey, this is our slate. What would you pay to have these games exclusive? And then PlayStation's like, well, we want Final Fantasy 16 and it's worth this much or whatever, but some of these other games we don't care about. I just in my mind, I just can't imagine Square Enix coming to Xbox and being like, you want Final Fantasy 16? And yeah, and this, I don't know. I don't necessarily. I don't know. To me, that's just like Square wouldn't do that. They know where their bread is buttered and all this. It would either be the Switch or would it be PlayStation? Why would you come to Xbox and be like, you want this game exclusive? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Miles.
It's tough because there is, a history with PlayStation and Nintendo, and I think realistically, there's just an easier guarantee of a certain level of success and expectations on those platforms. I agree with you. I don't think he's lying in this situation about the business realities. Sometimes the boring logistics of the business aren't what we want to hear because it's not salacious. It's not that interesting. I don't know that that's the whole reality here, but it is interesting to have someone talk about this, come out and talk about the business component of these deals, because Square Enix, again, I think it's fair to be critical of them in this regard. They are hyper risk averse, hyper risk averse right now. Their business is so tight. They're working on such tight margins for marketing, development, everything is so tight. And so they are probably asking more of PlayStation and probably Xbox as well when it comes to support, because they have big IPs. They have important IPs like Final Fantasy that carry weight. And it's hard to say whether or not Square did come to Xbox. And if you're Xbox, you have to look at this deal through a business lens as well, because we know Xbox has a lot of resources, but then they have to look at what it costs to pay for exclusivity. In this case, pay to provide engineers to help support the game for one platform. And then you have to look at the fact that Final Fantasy 16 potentially, if it's only an exclusive on Xbox, will sell less copies. And so you have to justify that. And then to offset that, you have to say, okay, well then we need to give an upfront cost for Xbox Game Pass. And so I don't think it's necessary that Xbox can't. And I don't know that they didn't, or I don't know that they were offered. I don't have the reality, but I think maybe there was a boring business conversation where Xbox was like, we can't really swing that, or we don't want to swing that. But again, maybe the reality is Xbox didn't have a chance to counter, because speaking from my experience in sales and marketing, this is boring. This is a different industry, but I used to work in high level sales for the alcohol industry. And I used to work with some of the biggest spirits brands in the world, Patron, Jim Beam, blah, blah, blah. And the way that these deals work is that almost never are you offered an opportunity to counter. The way these deals happen is that you find out somebody has a program. Somebody wants to have whatever, a display in every single Walmart or whatever. I'll use a universal example. Every single Walmart is going to have an end cap for one spirit. And so everyone has their pitch. Everyone brings an offer to the table with what they think is going to be the right call and the best price. And almost never do you get a counter and say, hey, so-and-so came to me and offered me this. Do you want to match that? No, they just pick whatever the best deal was. And the way that Yoshida is phrasing it, it sounds like that. Maybe there was some offer to Xbox or from Xbox, and PlayStation was just obviously they've been more aggressive. I will provide some more context here. This is a mini scoop, a scoop lit. I haven't wrote an official article about this.
A mini leak?
I've been, careful about how to word this because I've been sitting on this for a little while, and I've been cross-referencing some sources and talking to people behind the scenes about this because I had somebody come to me a while back, familiar with these business workings, familiar with these business dynamics, and say that PlayStation has a aggressive marketing policy for publishers that's very lucrative. And what this policy essentially is a media match, which in some cases means PlayStation matches dollar for dollar. If you give them exclusivity and you put their games in PlayStation Directs or PlayStation Showcases. And if you're a big game, that can be hundreds of thousands of dollars, that can be $1 million. That number can range dramatically, but that is a huge amount of financial gain. So if PlayStation is coming to these teams and saying, we're going to do media match, we're going to give you engineers, and we're going to give you a lump sum for exclusivity. I mean, again, we talk about the business component of it. That's when you're Square Enix and you're incredibly risk adverse, that's a cushion. That's a cushion that you want. And if PlayStation has been doing that, the expectation would be that Xbox needs to do that as well. And maybe Xbox looks at that and says, man, that's a lot. We can't necessarily justify the business gain from that. Again, I don't know what the reality is, but
if you're not putting it on Game Pass, right? Like, I would sure Microsoft be like, oh, okay, Final Fantasy 16, how much? But for that type of money, we want it day one in Game Pass. Where Square Enix might look at it and be like, no, but we don't want it in Game Pass, right?
Again, Square has put games in Game Pass. They put all of the Final Fantasy games.
No, yeah, but as the back catalog thing, I'm talking about day one. I mean, they did it with Outriders, games as a service and stuff like that. I'd be curious to know if other publishers do this as well. Like, so Square is basically saying, oh, we do this with all our games. We do this with every one of our games. We go and we see the interest in, right? Basically, they're saying that with all their games, they go see if there's any interest for partnering with one of the console manufacturers, right? I want to know if how is that a standard thing that happens, right? Like, how many publishers are out there be like, we have this game coming, let's go see if Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo want it, right? Because you'd imagine some like EA, Take-Two, they're like, our games are multi-platform, so like, what are we going?
Yeah,
we wouldn't be going to shop our games, but then be like, oh, well, what about marketing? I'd be interested to know how much that actually happens. Like, how often some like Microsoft or Sony is approached about investing money in something to get some sort of exclusivity. How early in the game's development does it happen? How late does it happen? But Final Fantasy 16 is just one of those games that I just can't imagine it being an Xbox exclusive. To me, it's like it's either going to be PlayStation or Switch, because that's where Square Enix's bread is buttered, right?
It's Square more so than any other big publisher right now shops around, it seems like, because we see exclusivity thrown around constantly between Nintendo and PlayStation. Live Alive, another prime example. Switch exclusive briefly, came to PlayStation. Final Fantasy, PlayStation exclusive, came to PC after the fact. So clearly they are shopping around more than other big publishers, where your Capcoms, the Capcoms of the world, they have big IP, they have big games, and they usually are going to be multi-platform. We saw a different era of Capcom early on, when Capcom wasn't as financially strong as they are now. Early on the PS4 generation, that's why there was PS5 PS4 exclusivity for Street Fighter V, because otherwise that game wasn't going to come out. That's the reality of Street Fighter V, is that PlayStation was the big push to get that across the finish line, but they said, all right, if we're doing this, you need to give us exclusivity. And so Capcom right now is very strong. Their IP are doing well. They are selling games. Every single IP that they put out is selling well, and that makes it so they can put their games anywhere and everywhere and be fine. There's no risk. Square, I don't think is not in that situation financially right now, and so again, it sucks for Xbox fans, and I hope that they get to a point where they are more consistent, because it seems like every single release from Square is just a roll of the dice as to what platforms it's coming to. And I think that the boring truth of that is that they just are not willing to spend money. They just don't, and they won't spend the money. And so Xbox, if they want consistent Square releases, probably has to come to the table with a stupidly generous offer that would have to be repeated time and time again. They would have to basically pay to have the game come to their platform. And so for me, as a fan, I can sit back on the sidelines and say, yeah, do it. Like, make it consistent. Pick up the phone, call Square, and just do that over and over and over again until it's at the expectation, until you can have that confidence in this publisher. But if you're Xbox and you're going through the economic struggles, or again, we're going to talk more about that here in a minute, but can you justify that for every single Square release? And I don't know, Rand, what's the answer?
The answer is no. You probably can't. You know, and Square's going to do what Square's going to do, whatever they think is best for their business, until they run into some problems. I mean, you can't put out these games and then complain later on that didn't meet your expectations, or that you want your titles to be these global phenomenon, but then keep it basically shackled to one platform. You know, you're working against your own interest at that point. And that game development's rough. You know, I would imagine a game like Final Fantasy 16 cost a ton of money to make, right? So it's like, oh, well, we'll take the money up front. You're going to pay for this. And then you'll be like, well, how much are we actually going to sell? And then, yeah, you see other franchises just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Elden Ring, for example. Multi-platform.
Crushed Final Fantasy numbers. Crushed.
I know. It's like, I would imagine Square Enix, like, why can't we do that?
Why can't we hit 20 million?
You're also PlayStation only, and you're not even launching on PC day one. So you're limiting your audience in exchange for upfront money for development costs and marketing costs and stuff. Is it worth it? Only time will tell. Only time will tell.
See, exactly. That's the thing that's hard. It's hard to say whether or not it is worth it in the long run. Xbox right now is looking at the big picture. They're looking at super long term. And I know they are working with Square, and they want to have a good, consistent working relationship with Square, because they do have important IP that means something to players. And that's, you know, as much as we talk about, you know, looking at things objectively, a lot of what connects people to gaming is how gaming makes you feel. And if you have a connection with a certain franchise, like at a certain point, you're going to go where that franchise is. So, like I said, if you're a JRPG fan primarily and have been, you probably should have a PlayStation 5 or a Switch, like, because they're going to get more consistent support. And you're not going to be like, well, I love Final Fantasy, but I only have an Xbox, so I guess this is my fate. This is where I'll sit forever. And so it's tough, because there are boring realities to it. And again, I see people say that Square hates Xbox or hates Xbox fans is the one I push back against more. I don't think they hate Xbox fans. I think they are just so stingy with their dollars right now. So, and you can be critical of that. I think it's fair. I think their business with the NFT push and all of these other red flags suggests that things aren't necessarily in the greatest position. They're not as strong as they can be financially. We know they're not in the red. They're not really in the hole right now. So that's something. But clearly they are having issues behind the scenes, and they are going to anyone and everyone and saying, hey, what's this mean to you? Hey, PlayStation, what does Final Fantasy mean to you? You know, we launched Final Fantasy VII as a PS1 exclusive. You have decades of support and fans on your platform. Are you saying you don't want to pay for exclusivity? Are you saying you don't want to have that brand association? So I'm sure there is some sort of back and forth there ideally these deals need to be a win-win for both parties. So PlayStation can look at it and say, we're going to sell X million copies so we can justify the price. Maybe Xbox can't. I don't know. I don't have that information. But it sounds like in some cases, PlayStation is aggressive about exclusivity to the point of it not making financial sense. I'm going to give a quick shout out to all the amazing people joining us live. We got 440 beautiful folks joining us for Xbox Chaturdays. If you're digging the show, hit that like button, share it out, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. I'm going to get to a couple super chats. First, we got Silent Cypher dropping a $20 super chat. It says, it's been a while. Wanted to show some love. Hope you're doing well, Miles. Great to see you, Rand. Silent Cypher, appreciate you, dude. Dead Planet says, can SEGA be to Xbox what Square is to PlayStation? Let's touch on that real quick. Rand, do you think that as a counter to this whole exclusivity back and forth with Square, that Xbox should just be hyper aggressive and make every single Sega IP exclusive to Xbox? Just throw around whatever money it takes every single time to make sure that every Sega IP is exclusive to Xbox. Do you think that's the play?
At that point, why not just buy Sega?
I don't know. Maybe they don't want to be bought.
If you're going to make all, if they're willing to sell you exclusivity on all their games, then there's probably something going on there.
Yeah.
So it's like, if that would happen, it'd be like, well, just buy them, and then they're all exclusive anyways, right? I don't know. Mm-hmm. That'd be my line of thinking.
And see, that's why a lot of people are like, well, why doesn't PlayStation buy Square? Because, I mean, they don't need, right now they don't need to, because they're getting all their games anyway, and they're getting a lot of exclusivity anyway. But if they were bought, it wouldn't be like a huge loss immediately, because they've kind of set the tone. It would suck for Xbox to lose Dragon Quest. I mean, we know Xbox is not crushing it in Japan right now when it comes to console sales. They had a strong start to the generation, but that's kind of tapered off in a big way. And if you take away Final Fantasy, you take away Dragon Quest, they have Yakuza and Dragon Quest, which have been huge. Dragon Quest, in the US, we look at it and say, oh, cool. Like, I prefer Final Fantasy. But in Japan, Dragon Quest is massive. That is a household name. It's almost a national holiday for some folks when a new Dragon Quest comes out. People take time off work. Dragon Quest is huge in Japan. So that would be I think that would almost be a bigger blow, honestly, for Xbox in Japan, because we've at least been getting somewhat consistent Dragon Quest support on the Xbox front. So I don't know. These whole exclusivity buyouts and acquisitions, they're interesting for the platform and what it means for the future. But honestly, I kind of love where Capcom's at, and the fact that we can count on almost every Capcom game to go everywhere. Like, that's kind of refreshing. Like, I don't have to like watch a showcase sweating, be like, oh no, is it going to be exclusive? Is it going to be is the next Resident Evil going to be exclusive? It's nice to know that if you like Capcom, you can play wherever the hell you want. And as much as I've previously said that,
well, except for the Switch.
Oh yeah, that's true. But they do their stuff on streaming, so technically they've done a lot of releases via streaming. But as much as I've talked about Capcom being the pick, if I'm Xbox and I want a Japanese publisher, I'm calling Capcom every single day. I don't think there's one that's stronger than Capcom when it comes to brand power, when it comes to sales, when it comes to guaranteed success, when it comes to bolstering Game Pass just in an undeniable way. That being said, I don't think Capcom has any interest in selling right now. The offer you would have to bring to the table would need to be ridiculously generous for them to consider.
That's the time to sell, though, Miles. You're at an all-time high. Your stock price is super high.
Yeah, you're riding high, baby.
That's the time that you are worth the most. And realistically looking at it, everything's, peaks and valleys, right? If you're at your most high right now, well, the only place to go is down. Right? So maybe when you're at your peak, this is the time you feel those offers, because this is the time you would get the highest offers to sell.
But Capcom has also come out and said that they expect this upcoming year to be their biggest year ever in terms of video games sold.
Sure, but guess what? You can't always have every year can't always be the biggest year ever, though. At some point,
that to the shareholders, Rand. All right,
I'm just saying the share at some point it's going to go down again. We've been through this. I remember at one point everybody loved Ubisoft. Where's Ubisoft right now? What's Ubisoft doing? I'm just saying, peaks and valleys, my friend. Peaks and valleys.
I agree. I agree with that logic 100%. When I say tell that to shareholders, I literally mean that. Tell these shareholders to chill out and understand the ebb and flow of the games industry. They don't care about the reality of development. They don't care about interest. They don't care about console cycles and how that flow works. They care about that money, baby. They want that money to go up every single year until the end of time. And that's
look at Embracer. Just last week, they're doing so good. And then earlier this week, the CEO looked like he was a broken man simply because a verbal agreement of $2 billion deal fell through.
Ooh, that stream is hard to watch.
1 week, Embracer is doing great, on top of the world. Now it's like, oh, man, our stock's down 50%. You know, like
that stream is rough.
Things can happen. You know, it's not good.
No, and that's kind of the reality. So again, wanted to touch on that since that was our first official acknowledgement of the exclusivity, really, when it comes to someone speaking as to why it's happening, what's going on. And again, we don't have the whole picture, but it was nice to get some sort of information from somebody to the project. Again, you don't necessarily have to take that at face value for what it is, but I do think that there is truth to what he's saying. I don't think he's just completely making something up. I do think the boring business reality probably outweighs the, fan push. As much as we want things everywhere, Square Enix doesn't want to spend money. They don't. They want to make money, but they don't want to spend money, that's a hard place to be, right?
Hey, you know what? Foam Star is going to save everything.
And you got to have that games as a service banger, dude. That hit. We got Splatoon at home, baby. It's called Foam Stars. Why pay $60 for Splatoon when you can play Foam Stars? Rand, I know this is an Xbox show, but we got to talk about the PlayStation Showcase because we are in the season. We are in showcase season right now. PlayStation kicked things off. We're heading into Summer Game Fest. We're heading into the Xbox Game Showcase, the Starfield Direct, the extended Xbox Game Showcase. Ubisoft has one. Everyone's out there throwing things around. There's a lot of big game announcements on the horizon, and we did get some big announcements at the PlayStation Showcase this week. But I will say that going into this show, expectations were high, Rand.
Through the roof.
I had Xbox fans DMing me worried. Like they were worried that PlayStation was going to come out and just slap Xbox or just slap them around, dropping a showcase for the ages. One for the eons, one that would go down in history. They took last year off. It had been 2 years since a proper PlayStation showcase. So people went into this ready for megatons. Even our pal Jez Corden was like, yo, I've heard that this show is going to be a banger, bro.
I roasted him on the podcast about
I hear this show is going to be, how many fire emojis? 10 did he have?
3. I think he had 3 fire emojis.
This show is going to be fire. So there were clearly rumblings.
Fire for Xbox fans.
So clearly expectations were high. Fans were waiting. We didn't have a good picture of PlayStation's plan for this year, and so people thought there was going to be a huge first-party push and some presence from Bloodborne remake to Castlevania to Silent Hill to all these mythical games. They were all going to be there, Rand. They were all going to be there. So PlayStation delivered over an hour of new trailers, reveals, and gameplay. So it was a decent amount of time. So before we talk about specific highlights, disappointments, blah, 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 what were your overall impressions of the show? When you were on the other side, how did you feel as a fan of video games?
I gave the show like a C.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some games there that I'm super excited to play, like Alan Wake 2. I thought looked incredible. October 17th, please get here ASAP. I need it. Spidey 2. I mean, Spider-Man. I can't wait to play that either.
Those animations look sick when you were just absolutely destroying that poor civilian, pinning him against the wall of the house, and just I'm sorry. Like they talk about the superhero games, we don't kill people. No, they're dead. They're dead.
They're pretty much dead. There was a couple indie titles that caught my interest. Sword of the Sea or Sea of the Sword from Giant Squid. I'm a big fan of their games. Neva, I believe, the game from the developers of Gris. I love Gris.
Yep, that looks beautiful.
So I was like, okay, this has my attention. Assassin's Creed Mirage. I didn't really play Valhalla, so there's some interest in this Mirage game.
Okay.
But it wasn't what I was expecting from PlayStation. And maybe I look at it in a different way other people do, or maybe I look at it like in a way a lot of PlayStation fans do. Is I usually watch the PlayStation show to see why I'm going to be turning on my PlayStation. You know, everybody knows
You want those exclusive bangers.
I'm a man with a million. I play everything on my Xbox. I only play on my PlayStation when something exclusive is dropped. And, you know, I played God of War last year, and I played Sifu, and I played Stray, and I haven't turned it on since. And I was like, okay, what am I turning it on for, in 2023? And so far I haven't, because there hasn't been a game yet. So Final Fantasy 16, looking forward to it. My game share partner is buying 2 copies. He's buying like the $250 version and then a digital version. So I'm like, all right, Spider-Man 2. So I was like, okay, so like, what is the roadmap for next year? I was interested to see, like, hey, what do you have after Spider-Man 2? And they didn't really have anything, Miles. So I was like, so for me, you put it in context of like wanting to see a roadmap for what PlayStation was doing after Spider-Man 2, and knowing that this was essentially 600 days since their last show.
Yeah, it was a long time.
And that you only had like announced 2 new games, but with CGI, it was kind of like, that was kind of disappointing. I sort of expected more. And if Xbox put out this same show, I'd probably rate it even worse, because we've been on Xbox about their showcases, especially last year's, the whole 12-month thing, and them not meeting promises and expectations about launching games and stuff like that on time. So I'm expecting more than 2 first-party games and an update on the third one. Like, to me, that's just, and then a trailer for Gran Turismo.
Oh yeah, the movie.
Yeah, so I mean, like, overall, I guess, like, as things like I would want to play on Xbox and everything, it's probably like a C++. But if it was strictly about PlayStation content, it's probably a D. But I mean, who am I? I'm an Xbox guy, right? I'm an Xbot. Miles.
You're a dumb Xbot, Rand. You're just a dummy. You're a big stupid dummy. It's an S tier show. S.
The thing that was weird to me, or not weird, but some of the CGI trailers, particularly, just, I'm fine with it when you do your first, like, you announce the game and you show a CGI trailer, very much in the vein of like Redfall, because at least with, well, I mean, Redfall is maybe a bad example of this case, but like when they showed off Redfall, you're like, okay, I can get a sense of what the game is, even if it's Left 4 Dead or Far Cry. Like, I can imagine what it is in my head. Arcane has the pedigree. You're like, that is something I can look forward to. When I see a trailer that's CGI that's literally 20 seconds long and it's just like focuses on a space burger, Concorde, for example, what am I supposed to take away from that? What am I supposed to imagine? I don't.
You're supposed to get hungry.
But it seemed like a worthless announcement. Now, I guess you could compare it to something like the Fable CGI trailer from 2020, where it was also very short. It also didn't show much. But then again, you know what Fable is. Sure, you have an image of Fable from the Xbox 360 area, but like, okay, you know Fable's coming back. You can tell from the trailer that humor's there, so you could expect it to be there. You can kind of picture it in your head, what to expect. Fable, maybe looking like Witcher or something like that. At least you can form a picture in your mind's eye. But with Concorde, I didn't get anything. I don't know what to think. And even in their other game, the Haven title, I'm watching it and it's just like, okay, I get this is a live service game, but like, is it 4v4? Is it a heist game? Is it like Payday? And because it's a new studio, I also don't have the pedigree to fall back on, where I'm like, okay, well, I'm excited for this because it's, it's Rocksteady, or it's some
you're familiar
studio
with
that I like. I'm like, Haven, they haven't even made a game yet, so I don't know what to expect, and I'm not sure even what to picture in my head for this game. So the CGI announcements didn't even do anything for me anyways, because I just can't. I don't know. It sort of seemed lame in that regard. I don't know. What did you think? What was your overall take on the showcase?
So there's two different perspectives for me. I think if you wanted just the PlayStation bangers, quote unquote, this show didn't do much. It didn't do much in that regard. But for me, as a fan of just video games and with a lot of stuff being multi-platform, dude, we got Alan Wake 2 release date and Dragon's Dogma 2 gameplay.
But you know, Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't do anything for me.
I don't care, Rand. It does something for me.
Me for my opinion.
And you asked me for mine. Okay, it's my turn.
Sure.
All right?
Okay, you got the microphone.
That's
my
right.
turn.
Dragon's Dogma 2, man. When they first announced it last year, when I said they would, and you said no, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to see gameplay this soon. The way they announced it made me feel like this thing was they just started it. They were just, hey, this is a thing, we're working on it. So I was not expecting gameplay this soon. So when that moment hit, I was like, oh, baby, I don't care what the rest of this show is. That's the high. That's the peak for me. And it looks like an evolution of Dragon's Dogma. Was stoked for that. Alan Wake 2. I love seeing more of the plucky squire. I think that game looks absolutely outstanding. That is like one of my most anticipated games of this year. Amazing art style. So that's been in a lot of different showcases. That's not just a PlayStation thing, but I'm always excited to see more of that. So there were some standouts. There were some good moments I think, yeah, I'm kind of with you. Maybe if I'm slapping a grade on it, maybe a C+, because I think that the highs for me really elevated the show overall, and there were a lot of great indie standouts, but I know some people they want the big high profile games, and
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think the leak of Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta hurt?
Absolutely. It absolutely hurt the show. Yeah, that was the
Damn you, Jez Corden.
That was the big surprise. I mean, that had been rumored for so long, but
I had been hearing about it since like 2020 that it was a thing.
Exactly. Like it had been a not very well kept secret for a long time, but if that came out of nowhere and we had no idea it was coming and they just dropped Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake, I think the perception of the show would be a bit different, because that being the big surprise and everyone knew about it meant there was no big surprise. There was no big surprise. Kind of like with Redfall. When Redfall was the one last thing moment a couple of years ago, a lot of us knew that was coming. A lot of us knew that was a thing. So we didn't have a big one more thing moment because we already knew.
I also think ending with Spider-Man took people by surprise too, because
I agree. Yeah.
Because when I had pictured the show, I was like, well, they got to open with Spidey.
I thought we're going to start with the release date. Just boom, Spider-Man release date.
Here's Spider-Man 2. Here's this big lengthy gameplay thing. Here's the release date. And then you're going to end with factions, the thing everybody wants to see, the thing that's been talked about last year, where it's like, here's factions, but they ended with Spider-Man. And like, I've been watching people's reactions vids, bro, when like Jim Ryan's like, and before our final game, people were like, final game? Oh man, like people are losing it. Because they're like, they couldn't believe a lot of games, a lot of PlayStation exclusives didn't show up, or a lot of studios didn't showcase what they're working on. That you only really had Fair Play and Concord with CGI trailer. I mean, yeah, Bungie was there, and I'm sure Marathon is going to be huge.
It's the most viewed trailer of everything.
Yeah, Bungie, you know, they're incredibly good at what they do, and Marathon's probably going to be massive. But once again, CGI, at least I can imagine in my head what it might play like, because we've all played Bungie games and we've seen the aesthetic. But even still, that's just a multi-platform game at this point. Bungie's just a multi-platform studio. It's like, all right, Xbox, PC, day one, all that stuff. So you get like Helldivers 2. So for like the PlayStation fan, you didn't really get what you wanted, it seems like, and that's why, you know, a lot of people were saying it was a bad showcase for them.
And like, again, like I understand being disappointed, because again, the expectations for the show were very high. I didn't think it was an awful show. I've seen a lot of people really clown on the overall show, and again, I don't come after me. I don't really mean this in too much of a negative way, but this felt like an Xbox showcase.
Oh, Miles, that's
where it was a lot of amazing indie games, a lot of cool third-party games, and a handful of first-party. And I know Xbox has gotten a lot of heat in the past about that approach, and we've been waiting for Xbox to really deliver on the first party promises, and it seems like PlayStation is in a position where they're waiting for the first party games to hit as well, and so they got to fill the gap somehow. And so that's kind of what they did. They leaned into third party.
I guess you would say what the difference would be then if this was the Xbox show was that most of these games that would have been shown would have also been coming to Game Pass on day one. And that's something that essentially is not happening in this one, right?
Exactly. So a lot of these are multi-platform. A lot of them aren't getting the inherent platform boost, which would be the association with Xbox, where if you're invested in that ecosystem, you see the Game Pass day one logo and you say, let's go, baby! That doesn't come at a PlayStation show. That doesn't exist. So you don't have that moment for the multi-platform stuff, where I feel like at the Xbox show, one of the exciting things is even when it's outlandish, even when it's probably not going to happen, when you see that new third-party reveal, like Assassin's Creed Mirage or whatever, at the very end, you go, oh, they're going to slap the Game Pass logo on it. They're going to do it.
No.
And you don't get that with PlayStation shows. So
I also sort of feel that this show was probably the first show in the Jim Ryan's era of PlayStation. You know, stuff that, all the stuff that sort of started under Sean Layden, you know, kind of been out, right? We know Jim Ryan and PlayStation are heavily investing in games as a service, right? We know that they're also heavily investing on PC.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen, all right, first thing they started off, what was the very first game? Games as a service. That's also coming to PC on day one.
Was it Helldivers? Was that the first one?
No, that was Fair Play, I believe.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
And even Helldivers 2.
Helldivers
PC
2.
day one.
And didn't Jim Ryan just say, like last week or this past week, that they weren't going to do day and date for PS?
He did, but I think he was more like talking about the single player stuff. He talked about how, you know, the live service games would be on PC because they have to be. Like,
yeah, you need to be everywhere, really.
And
a live service game should just not have exclusivity in general if you want a successful one. But that's my take.
But the thing is, the hardcore PlayStation audience on social media doesn't like games as a service.
No, they're not thrilled. They want the single player narrative driven games.
But we know from Sony's own internal like investor meetings and their graphs and stuff that they're all in on games as a service. They got 12 of them they're making. And they got to start releasing them between now and whatever year. And not all of them are going to be good. Not all of them are going to hit. Not all of them are going to be interesting because, you know, they're going to be throwing stuff at a wall to see what sticks. And as a PlayStation fan who's used to all their releases being AAA cinematic third-person experiences that Sony's really, really good at, that really critically and most times commercially does extremely well. As we've seen recently, games as a service is a crapshoot. Sometimes the games are good, and even if the games are good, sometimes nobody plays them, and the servers get shut down after a year. So you can throw all these games at them, and you know some of them are going to be off the wall, and some of them aren't going to hit, and some of them probably won't be at the quality level that you're normally accustomed to, and then some of them may die after a year. And that, I think, is going to be an interesting revelation for PlayStation fans to have to come to accept. That this is the new normal. It's not just only the single-player stuff that PlayStation is known for, but also you're going to have these multiplayer games that you don't want, and the multiplayer games might vary in quality, and they might fail. Granted, maybe you hit. I think the marathon game is going to be massive, honestly. You know, they're doing an extraction shooter. I think BR is kind of a saturated market at this point, so you don't really see a lot of teams doing that anymore. And Bungie has the pedigree to probably dominate in that area, but is... I don't know. It's like you look at the other games potentially, and you're like, is Fair Play gonna really be a banger? Is it gonna hit? And if it does, is it actually gonna? You're asking a lot. Because even Jez was saying to me, Miles, is like, he's playing Overwatch and he's playing Diablo and he's playing this game and all these games got battle passes and they're all demanding your time, right? And they all have to have millions and millions of players to be successful. The market is saturated. This isn't 2015 where you could put out Rainbow Six Siege and have it not be good. But then because there's really nothing else out there, do the updates, make the game better, and have this huge game for like there are so many games in the marketplace now vying for your attention that have established fan bases that aren't going to go anywhere. And now years later, you're going to try to sneak in and put your own spin on these things. That is a tough sell. That is a very, very tough sell. And we've already seen some of the consequences of this with Deviations games rumored to be canceled. I know we're probably talking about it, but Factions seemingly scoped down and put on hold, delayed, maybe even eventually canceled. Like, this isn't your run-of-the-mill single-player adventure story stuff. This is a completely different beast,
Yes, that is an important conversation worth having. Is PlayStation's audience, they want the big single-player games. PlayStation has built a platform, they've built a reputation on delivering those, but as games take longer and longer to make and get more and more expensive to make, the reality is that alone isn't a sustainable model. And that's why they're, expanding their subscription service. That's why they're expanding their hardware offerings. We're going to be talking about that as well. That's why they're going into games as a service, because the reality is you can't wait 6 years, 7 years to have money come in. You just can't. Like, you need money coming in constantly. And that's why third-party sales are important. That's why, PlayStation's been so vocal about Call of Duty, because for them, that's been an annual recurring revenue stream, and they can use the Call of Duty money that's coming in to fund God of War Ragnarok. That's the reality of this business. So if you're a PlayStation fan, you don't necessarily have to play every single multiplayer game, but I think you do need to understand that if you want PlayStation to be able to continue to deliver on the caliber that they have been delivering, they have to have the money to do it. And that's why they are being so aggressive with games as a service, because they're looking towards the future. They're looking to a world where maybe they lose Call of Duty, maybe there is some sort of exclusivity, and they need that money coming in. They need to have some hits. And so, like you said, there's so much competition in that space. There are so many games that want to be the only game that you play each and every single day, and they fight for it, and they scrap for it, and they claw, and there's only a small percentage of them that make it and sustain and survive, and that's just surviving. There's even a smaller percentage that actually thrive and be huge successful hits. Xbox has one prime example, Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves has been, Rare got a lot of flack coming out of the gate with Sea of Thieves because it was content light. It was their first foray into games as a service, and a lot of people were very skeptical. They said, no, this Rare makes Banjo. Rare makes Cameo. Like, I don't want them to make a multiplayer MMO pirate thing. No, that's not what I want. But that has become one of the most important IP for Xbox and kind of the gold standard for how they can approach and have a successful ongoing game. Sea of Thieves succeeded where even Halo couldn't succeed in keeping people engaged and keeping this world growing and thriving and keeping a player base growing. Like, it continues to grow.
There's no game like Sea of Thieves, those Miles.
Exactly.
Completely unique.
Exactly.
It's completely unique in its market.
That's why it can succeed. But when you're coming in the shooter space, even for a team like Bungie, even Bungie, who has this pedigree, who has this reputation, when I look at Marathon, I look at the art style. Again, this was CG. I look at the presentation and I say, yo, can this even be on the level of Destiny? I trust Bungie to make an excellent game, and I have no doubt that Bungie can deliver an excellent game. But in this market, in this genre, can Bungie miss, I guess? And not to say that the game's going to be bad, because what's stressful about the games as a service space is that you can deliver a fantastic game at its core, and sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes that's not enough. There's so many elements you have to get right, and you just have to have people connect with it. And there's no guarantee that people will connect with it. And so that's scary. And you spend years and years investing in that loop, and then the loop doesn't hit, and people move on. And you're like, oh my God.
I'm sure you've seen some of the reactions to Marathon where people are like, all right, new game from Bungie. And then it comes out that it's no campaign, no story, no single player. It's just a PvP game. And they're like, God damn it. Because it's like, I guess that game's not for me. It's interesting. You talk about like Halo Infinite, for example, and the rumored Tatanka mode, the battle
Yeah, the battle
royale-ish
royale.
thing. And it seems to me like battle royale has reached its limit as far as new entries, right? And
Yeah, we haven't had a
does-
new one drop that's blown up since Apex, really,
and it
right?
seems to me, that the new fad's going to be extraction, right? You got Dr. Disrespect and his shooter that's an extraction game.
Nope.
You have Tarkov that does extremely well. Bungie's going after it.
Call of Duty has an extraction
Call of Duty's
mode.
got a mode
Yeah.
in it, and I'm just wondering, thinking to myself, wouldn't it be just Halo's thing to finally do a battle royale when everybody's kind of like done with battle royale and they miss out on the next thing, which is extraction? Wouldn't that be just
Rand,
typical?
that hurts because, yeah, I feel like that's a reality we could live through. Is that they finally do it? Fans have been asking for years. They finally do it, and then people don't.
Everybody's all just like, extraction's the new wave.
Yeah,
and
extraction's the new hotness, bruh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Marathon will be fine for the people that like it. I know my friends, my multiplayer buddies are so looking forward to that game. But if you want an epic single player campaign from Bungie, don't think you're getting one.
No, but there's been the rumors of the new IP. So I imagine with Marathon being a PvP only thing, there is room for Bungie to deliver a narrative focused game for the players who want that. And I think ultimately it's the best call to separate those.
And the best part, it's an Xbox game.
See, I have to commend Bungie because they, as part of their contract, they said we're multi-platform. Like, we can put our games wherever we want. And I think if you are doing games as a service, as much as we harp on exclusivity for PlayStation, Nintendo, blah, 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 what it means for the brand, blah, 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 really the best call is to be everywhere, just regardless of that. So again, Bungie, I think, has the right approach. They have the right mentality. They understand the business really, really well. And that's why Bungie's a great asset for PlayStation, who doesn't really understand the games as a service business. They're dipping their toes in. So it's important to have someone like Bungie who can look at it and say, I
mean, you basically, PlayStation and Sony give them $3 billion and the power to cancel games.
Yep, exactly. We're gonna talk about that. I want to get to some super chats real quick. We got 535 amazing, beautiful people rocking
hit
with
that
us.
like button.
Smash that like button. Again, if you're new to the channel, I'm looking to get we're close. We're really close to 2,000 subs. Would love to hit that before the end of May. So if you're new here, having some fun, hit that subscribe button. We're live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Some super chats here. We got Sean Kramer, who just says Scalebound. Any comments?
Oh, geez, here we go. Every single Xbox 2 episode, somebody brings up Scalebound in some manner.
Portal Player says Xbox and PlayStation have 95% of the same games. Missing a few Japanese games isn't a big deal. In my opinion,
Miles.
Xbox should pay devs to make exclusive JRPGs, Blue Dragon, etc. Yes, I agree, Portal Player, and I think that's what's happening. We'll talk about that more later. Space Dovahkiin says, Rand, but don't you know there's a second secret show? Yeah, Rand, what do you think about the idea that PlayStation's holding back, bro? They got a stacked deck and they're waiting to just dump it at a future date.
I don't know. That doesn't...
You don't skip a year and hold back. I don't buy it.
Tom Henderson's got some leaks, and a lot of his leaks were proven right at the show, regarding the hardware aspect.
Yep.
I don't understand. Like, I don't get why Sony would want to hold back. Who knows if they're even doing another show in September? They may not. I just feel like, because people are like, oh well, Factions isn't going to be there because he gave it to the Keeleys. He gave it to Jeff. But it's like, why would you make your show even like worse? I don't know. And then of course we got the news that, well, no, it's not at the Keeleys. Maybe people are just coping. Maybe Sony decided to do different things or something. I don't know. People think there might be a second showcase because one time 2 years ago they did two. When they were launching, when they were launching the PS5. But 2 years that was in 2020. In 2021 they only did one show. So do they have another showcase primed and ready for eventually later in the year. I don't know. I mean, we can probably guess there'll be another state of play for Spider-Man before it comes out.
Oh yeah. There will definitely be at least one more state of play this year. But
I mean, if I was a PlayStation fan and I hated this show, hey, I'd be huffing the copium too. It's very similar to like when Microsoft and Xbox didn't show anything at the Game Awards. We were like, what is going on?
They're holding back, bro.
And then we were like, they has to be having their own show. You know, like we even though we had heard behind the scenes that actually was true, I don't know if anybody's really said that that's the case, but people want to hope that no, Sony didn't intentionally. This is all just 4D chess, Miles.
Exactly, dude. We have the people on Twitter with their conspiracy boards and their big brain ideas where, because of the regulators, PlayStation's worried about having its market dominance, so it purposely had an hour and 15-minute showcase that underwhelmed some fans as a way to offset the idea that, maybe PlayStation struggles too. It's not just Xbox, okay? And that's why they have all these exclusive deals, Rand. That's the only way they can exist, and so that's what they're using the PlayStation showcase to appease regulators, which I think that's probably not the case.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the case. We got Silent Cypher with Super Chat says space burgers for life.
That was the tasty space burger.
Man, we got a lot of beautiful people here. We're having some fun in the chat. Again, we're talking about PlayStation, and this is an Xbox show. So I'm trying my best not to just sit here and clown on PlayStation, but we dunk on Xbox and PlayStation when we need to. It's
normally when it was me and you. Sometimes people will be like, "You guys are dooming."
Yeah, you and I. When we get together, we get accused of Xbox dooming, and I'm like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, because normally you invite me after some Xbox stuff, and lately it's been bad news. You guys just dooming and glooming.
I know. Okay, so we take it from both sides here, all right? One other big announcement at the PlayStation show that I want to talk about, because I've talked about, Xbox and the idea of an Xbox handheld, and Xbox has leaned into the ROG Ally and the Logitech G Cloud and all these other third-party companies to fill the void of a traditional Xbox handheld. But PlayStation has introduced their handheld. The PlayStation Q Lite. What's your read on that? How do you feel about its design? I wish I have a picture of a secret prototype that I've uncovered from Xbox, but I don't have the PlayStation one on the screen. But I will show the Xbox prototype. How do you feel about its design? If you haven't seen it, it's essentially a dual sense controller chopped in half and connected to an 8-inch screen.
I mean,
that's it.
I'm not over the moon about the design. You know me, Miles. I don't care about mobile stuff.
Yeah, I know you're not a big handheld guy.
So to me, it's just like whatever. It's streaming only. Good luck. That thing better be priced extremely, extremely low. I mean, but it's PlayStation, so it's probably not. Then I think Tom Anderson reported that the battery life is like 3 to 4 hours. It's like, okay,
which for an 8-inch screen, if it is high contrast, decent quality, I mean, that's, I don't know. It's not great. It's not great, but it's in the realm that I would expect.
Yeah, I mean, the earbuds are actually, of the two things they show, the earbuds are more interesting to me because it might be a product I would actually get. Right?
Yeah, I like the idea of a high quality earbuds.
Where are the Xbox earbuds?
Yeah, I got my Surface buds, and they ain't it. They stopped making them, and I understand why. All right. Well, if you're watching the video version, if you're watching live, and if you're listening to the audio version, you can just find this on Twitter. But I looked at that. I looked at the Q Lite, and I said, man, why doesn't Xbox step into the Thunderdome and deliver on this, for Xbox fans? So I've uncovered this concept, and you might be able to see it on the screen here. If you're watching the video version, you can definitely see it on the screen here. And Rand, I know you've seen this. You saw me post this. Would you buy this if Xbox released this device right here? Would you throw down money? Would you throw down $300 for this?
No.
No? No. Okay, so again, if you're listening,
I'm probably not buying any Xbox handheld. To be honest with you.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'm very curious to see what
Would you buy it though? That's the bigger question.
I'm an idiot though, so I'll buy the Q Lite. I'll buy if Xbox just literally didn't change the design at all. If Xbox copied the Q Lite one for one, slap some Xbox control, cut an Xbox controller in half, and just, you know, Tears of the Kingdom, merge those to the side, baby, I'm there. Let's go. I'm throwing down some money. But again, I'm the fool who wants the handheld. I want Xbox to have a dedicated native handheld. It sounds like the Q Lite is going to be a remote play device, so it won't be a native device. Well, I'll be curious to see what its capabilities are there and what the price point is. But if they could do an affordable option that let me play, you know, stuff on the toilet, not on my phone. I have a phone. That's the meme. I do have a phone. I do have a Steam Deck even. I do have another cloud gaming device. I have all these devices. So I'm not the right person to ask. But yes, if Xbox put out this monstrosity, this beast, I would buy it. I would buy it. Does that make me part of the problem?
Of course you would.
Does that make
Of course you would.
But
does it make you part of the problem? Nah.
You know, I grew up in that era, Game Boy Color. I remember spending all my entire summer mowing lawns, grinding it out so I could buy a lime green Game Boy Color and Pokemon Blue. And ever since then, I've just, you know, I like the feel in my hands. I like the buttons. I don't want to do the touch screen. You know, maybe I'm just a gamer boomer who needs to accept that I should just play Fortnite on an iPad, but that's not what I want, all right? Okay, we touched on this, Rand. We touched on this a little bit. I'm going to get to a couple super chats, and then we're going to talk about the Last of Us factions. Assassin says, after the PlayStation showcase and recent bout of bad news for Sony, in my honest opinion, Sony is on one knee, ready for Microsoft to knock them down. Question is, will they though? That's been a common conversation or question I've seen, is that seemingly because of PlayStation's okay to unimpressive showcase for some fans, that Microsoft is poised for an alley-oop slam dunk, a rim-shattering slam dunk. Do they do it, Rand? Do they capitalize on this moment?
The thing is, I think the show's already in the can, or at least been planned. Because I remember listening to the Grubster. He was on Xbox 2+1. He does his own great shows, and he talks about just how long it takes to get a vertical slice from one of these developers or a CGI trailer. It's not something you can turn around in a week, a day, a month, 2 months. He basically said like a CGI trailer is like a 3-month thing. And essentially, like a vertical slice, kind of like what Spider-Man 2 would be, is like a 6-month, project that needs a lot of people on it. So obviously, Xbox is going June 11th. What they want to show, they've been planning since last year to get, CGI trailers ready, to get the third parties involved, to get the indies there. But obviously people want to know about first party. That stuff's already been planned and worked out. So I don't really think anything could be changed or anything extra being added. They could pull things. Like they could be like, hey, that show was so bad, we don't need to show Fable this year. Let's just hold off. Right? But it's already been decided. They don't have to do much to be better than PlayStation this time. But Xbox has their own problem, like their own issues, about, hey, we showed all these games in 2020. Fans want an update on Perfect Dark and Hellblade and Avowed. Also, just like PlayStation, we don't know what's coming after Spider-Man 2. We don't know what's coming after Forza Motorsport. Like, we know the games, but we have no clue when they're coming. So me and Miles couldn't tell you what 2024 for Xbox looks like.
Yeah, we can guess. We can throw around some guesses, but
I mean, we don't know, and that's on Microsoft to deliver that information. And if they don't, then they'll get this work.
It's this year in particular. Again, like we fixate on the negative noise, and a lot of us we're listening to podcasts, we're engaged with the conversations online, so we see a lot more of it. I think just inherently we get more of the negative concerns from fans and skeptics and critics. So it's easier to say that, oh man, that it seems overwhelming this year. People are so down on Xbox. But objectively, Microsoft has had a rough year optics-wise. They've laid a bunch of people off, including Halo. Redfall was a miss for them. They're coming off 2022, which was an incredibly light year from the first-party side of things. So the optics for Xbox right now, there's always pressure, obviously, and there's always like, oh, Xbox needs to do this at this year's showcase. But this year in particular, the energy started so positive with the developer direct, Hi-Fi Rush, and then it just nosedived. Like the messaging, the communication, the energy, the optics of Xbox this year have been weird. It's been a weird year. As like an Xbox fan observing the industry, the energy and momentum of Xbox has kind of screeched to a halt, and I think that's largely in part of ABK has been a huge distraction for them in terms of messaging, in terms of resources. All of the higher ups are head down in this deal. Like that is their primary focus. Is they need to focus on ABK, which
and we might have another 12 months of the deal. Miles.
The reality is it will distract from games. There's a lot of people, but when all of your executive leadership is focused on this deal, it's going to be a distraction to every other component of the business. So it's just been weird. So going into this show, a lot of people want, or I think what I want as an Xbox fan is I want something that distracts me from the distractions of the ABK deal. I want something that just refocuses the energy and the momentum of the Xbox brand on the future of Xbox Game Studios, the future of the games. And this year, we talked about it last year, that 2023 could be
could be.
Again.
You're going to say the best year in Xbox history, even though the last game they just released was Redfall, and you don't want to say it.
Again, last year I said you can find the clips, you can clown on me. I said that 2023 could be the E3 quote E3 of dreams for Xbox when we start to see the updates from all of these games, Fable, Perfect Dark, etc., and what's next. So some new reveals. It could be that. Will it be that though? I don't know. I can't say whether or not it will be that, but we are going to talk all about our predictions here in a little bit. Atticus has a super chat, says, even if it's a great show, the media won't allow it.
Yeah,
oh
that
my
darn
God.
media, Miles.
Damn the media. Damn me straight to the fiery depths of hell. I think people are going to be skeptical of Xbox. I think that's, whether that's fair or not, I'll let you decide.
Hey, can Xbox just win by just showing up?
Xbox, right now they can. I know that was the meme. That, PlayStation, all they need to do to win is show up. But Xbox, if they just have a couple first-party games and show some cool third-party stuff, I think we're good. I think we're flying. When there's a dedicated developer direct. The thing with Xbox is there's an hour and 30 minutes for their game showcase. There's a Starfield direct, and there's an extended game showcase.
Yeah.
If they can't bring the heat with all of that time, then I don't know. I don't know what to expect anymore.
Miles, are we gonna be looking at another 12-month show? Hey, the games that you'll be playing in the next
God,
year.
No. I didn't personally have a problem with that, but I think that was an unforced amount of pressure on all the teams. And I think it's also just impossible to commit on behalf of third-party developers as well. So, I don't think that's the case. I think the 12-month thing will not get mentioned.
Good. Let's talk about unless you got more super chats.
I think we're caught up on super chats, but appreciate y'all hanging out. Again, subscribe if you're new, if you're digging the show, having fun. Last of Us Factions, Rand. Let's talk about it, because as I was writing the show notes today, I was literally typing, where's the Last of Us multiplayer project? Where the heck is that? They talked about it last year. It's been rumored for years. I thought for sure we would see that at this showcase. So I'm writing the show notes, and then I pop over to Twitter, and literally as I'm writing that section, Naughty Dog puts out a blog post that says, hey, we're working on the multiplayer project. We have some more work to do. It's not coming out soon. It's delayed, essentially. They've never announced a release date, but they are proactively saying it's a delay. And I was like, well, that's weird. It's weird that they're doing that. And then, of course, homie Jason Schreier from Bloomberg says, yeah, I reached out to them earlier today saying I was going to run a story about the state of the multiplayer project and what's happening behind the scenes, and asked them if they wanted to comment. And then they tweeted that out. So, according to Jason Schreier over in Bloomberg, he was working on a report about the state of Naughty Dog's long-rumored multiplayer project. And according to Jason, in a hands-on meeting between PlayStation leadership, Bungie, the live service experts, and Naughty Dog, the team ultimately decided that the multiplayer-focused game needed more time to cook. And, according to this report, the overall team working on the project is being scaled down, and some of those folks are moving on to other projects. So what's your read on the situation? Obviously, we had a lengthy conversation about the state of games as a service titles, but when you see this kind of messaging and this report from Jason, what's your read on the situation?
My read is, oh man, Bungie has a lot of power within PlayStation. If they're essentially telling PlayStation's most prolific and storied developer,
the golden child of PlayStation. Let's be real.
If their game is good enough to continue, that was my live service is hard to get right. And this, like we mentioned before, this isn't 2015, this isn't 2017 where you could release a half-baked one and then try to get people to come back. Like, you need to basically launch perfect and be better than all these other games that come out. And Naughty Dog, sure, they made Last of Us Factions back in 2013, strictly just, hey, it's a regular multiplayer game. That style of game doesn't fly anymore in 2020, whenever that would come out. So I think the article said that, or at least maybe Jeff Grubb said this, but Naughty Dog wanted to make Factions their own way, and Bungie came in and played it and was like, this ain't it, dog. We're worried that you won't retain players, because if it's your first live service game, you're probably like fumbling around and don't know exactly what you should do. And this is part of the reason why PlayStation paid, or what some people would say, overpaid for Bungie, like $3.5 billion or whatever, to bring them in, right, to have their expertise. And now we know what they're also using them for. It's like, hey, we need you to kind of go coach these other developers. We're investing heavily in games as a service. We want one of the premier games as a service studios to come in here and give feedback, and they look at this game and they're like, not good enough. You need to go back to the drawing board. So now it's like, all right, we've been working on this game for a long time. We promised it. We need to rescope, scale back. In the meantime, we also have to have a game, so we're doing a single player one. The thing is, does Factions even ever come out? I don't know. When I read stories like this about teams being scaled down and moved to other projects and stuff like that, my first thought is that game's probably not coming out, right? But then there's the other side of this, Miles, because you mentioned Sea of Thieves earlier, right? Now imagine a scenario if Xbox bought Bungie, and then Bungie went and played that original Sea of Thieves and said, would Bungie have played that Sea of Thieves and said, good enough, ship it? Or would they have said the same thing they had said to Naughty Dog about, we're worried that there's not enough here, not enough, you're not going to be able to retain players? And then would Microsoft been like, you know what, you're right, and then scaled back Rare on that project?
Well, I think
instead of putting out Sea of Thieves and kind of building with the community and becoming the game that it is. Granted, it's also 2018 when it did come out, and now it's 2023, so times have changed. But that was another thing in my mind was, it's like, what would Bungie have said about Sea of Thieves in 2018? Would they have convinced Microsoft not to release the game? Versus right now, where it's like, oh, Last of Us Factions isn't good enough.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to what the core loop was, because Sea of Thieves was content light, but the core loop was, the foundation was there. So I think when you look at the game, you can say, all right, well, if we add these things, that will give people more things to do. The moment-to-moment gameplay is there, that loop will be engaging. And when I see comments like this from Bungie, it makes me feel like the core loop itself wasn't there, that there wasn't a compelling reason for people to stay with this game.
True, but then who made Bungie the arbiter of what is, just because they have a very successful Destiny game, which I don't care for, and there's plenty of people that don't care for it, but then there's plenty of people that do. What made Bungie the ultimate arbiter of, okay, this is good enough, or you know what, sorry, try again? That's a lot of power to give to to a studio you just purchased.
A lot of us speculated that, when Bungie was brought on, that they would lend their expertise. And I thought that would be on a consulting level. People would come to them with questions and say, hey, this is our loop. What do you think? I didn't think Bungie was going to be, like you said, in this executive position where they're like, this ain't it, dog. Naughty Dog? Nah, dog. That ain't what we shipping. All right. You need to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate it. So maybe with that scaled back team, they're going to do a smaller scale launch and then ramp up over time. Maybe they have a lot of the assets there, but the loop is going to be retooled and they're going to just slowly grow it over time. So I don't know. I really don't know, but I did not think Bungie was going to be this much of a deciding factor of the games as a service future for Sony.
Well, now it makes sense why they paid all that money for them and let them sort of have their independence. And now it's like, all right, you're judge, jury, and executioner. You need. Did they sit in on Deviation Games? Are they the reason why Deviation Games new title that they were working on with PlayStation? Is Bungie the reason that game was canceled? Because that game was also like a shooter and games as a service. There's even some people I say, hey, what if there's some competition? Like, what if Bungie wants to keep Naughty Dog down and not be on Bungie's level and prevent them from like some of that sort of competition aspect, right?
I don't think it's that. I really don't think it's that.
No, I don't think so either, but
I do think that there's a lot of, as we touched on with our conversation surrounding games as a service titles, there's a lot of factors. So not only does the loop need to be fun, but maybe there's fundamental problems with monetization. And they were trying to figure out how do we keep this thing going and making money? Because what's the loop for spending? How do you get people engaged without exploiting them? And how do you keep people excited to keep giving you money? Because that's what it's about. These games, you can't rely on that initial purchase. You need to rely on people giving you money over and over and over again. So maybe that wasn't there. Again, when they talk about scaling down the team, though, that makes me feel like the overall scope of this project is being reconsidered very heavily. And maybe this won't be the premier games as a service title they were hoping it would be. But again, I don't really know.
It's super interesting to see Bungie have this power.
They do. They have more power than I would have expected. All right?
Yes.
Bungie coming in and just dropping the hammer. Because again,
dropping the hammer of Naughty Dog. This isn't like
that's
Deviation Games or Haven. This is freaking Naughty Dog.
Imagine having that weight where you come into what many people to consider one of the best modern video game developers, who's been working on something for years, and you walk in after being acquired a few months ago and you say, no, this is not good enough.
I guess you could say
not a good enough game.
I wish somebody at Bethesda, one of the teams like it, would have played Redfall and been like, nah, fam.
See, again, similar situation. Arcane, that was their first foray into, I guess, maybe it was going to be games as a service at one point. I don't think that's the case anymore. But again, they're kind of foray into that space, and it's a tough transition. It's hard to do. And yeah, clearly they didn't have the oversight of a Bungie to come in and say, nope, this ain't shipping this way. But again, maybe Redfall, should have been the call. I don't know. But that whole development was interesting because I thought for sure we would see it at either the Keeleys or at the PlayStation Showcase. That was one I was like banking on. I was counting on seeing that, and so to not see that, it made me feel like something weird was going on with that game. And now we know, yeah, there's some stuff going on that needs some retooling. But yeah, don't really want to dunk on them because I'm sure nobody wants to be in a situation where you've spent years of your life on something and then somebody says, nah. No, that's not good. Like that's got to be a hit to the old soul a little bit, because we've all sunk time on things and then thought we had good ideas, and then you put it out in the world or you present it to someone and they don't like it, and that's part of the process, and you got to be able to take that feedback and roll with it. But also, it's got to be brutal, because I've never worked on something for 3-4 years and had somebody say, no, that's never coming out. So I don't know what that feels like. Rand,
Miles, what are we talking about now?
Are you about ready for prediction time, bruh?
Ooh, okay.
You about ready for prediction time? We're getting into it. We're going to be talking about predictions for the Summer Game Fest, and the Xbox Games Showcase. So if you're still here hanging out, hit that like button, share it out, subscribe, all of that great stuff. I'm going to get to a couple super chats before we get in. All right, first up, we got Nintendo, the Otaku, says, with Hellblade 2, Avowed, and Starfield seemingly confirmed, it will already be better than Sony's. Add Compulsion, Exile, and id, Reveal, or Fable State of Decay 3, perfect dark gameplay, and it's an A+ show.
Man, you want everything, huh?
If they just deliver everything, A+.
Yeah, hey, everything? Yeah, why not? If they just deliver it all, why not? It'll be a great show.
If you give me Hellblade 2, Avowed, Starfield, Compulsion, and Exile, id, Fable,
Perfect Dark, a bunch of new games, Contraband,
I'll give you a B-.
Banjo-Kazooie, Killer Instinct. Yeah, right.
B-. All right, sorry, Xbox.
Gears Collection.
Yeah, no. Biggity08 says, did you see the article from Gamer Rant that said that Xbox is gearing up its showcase for the next 12 months? Did you see this, Rand? I have not seen an article saying
No.
Okay. I haven't seen it. I guess link it to me. I don't know what that's based on. I haven't heard that from anyone else. So, but maybe.
I mean, it's Game Rant, so
maybe they'll go back to the well. Maybe they'll do it one more time. And all the games you see this time for sure will be coming in the next 12 months.
Can you imagine if they did that again a second time?
I would just standing ovation for me, dude.
The balls.
Exactly.
The testicular fortitude to do it 2 years in a row.
Oh, yeah. Give them some props, babe. Ladies and gentlemen, they're going to do it. They're going to come out and do it. Before we talk about our overall predictions, what we're expecting to see from the different shows, I want to ask you where you're at in terms of confidence in Xbox's ability to deliver this year. We don't need to talk about specific reveals because we're going to do that. But going into this show, where are you at with Xbox and your hopes for the future?
I mean, I'm still quite optimistic about their future and the games that they're putting out. I think I said on Xbox 2, I felt Redfall was a road bump. I also think Redfall is a game that probably shouldn't have came out. I think it did more damage to the brand than actually helped.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not concerned suddenly that Starfield will suffer the same fate. Like, I know a lot of people link it like, well, look what happened with Redfall. The same might happen with Starfield. And I'm like, two different teams.
Yeah.
Todd's making the game that he's sort of always made, but on a bigger scope. And, Arcane was making a game that they, their first time doing a live service co-op shooter. And we saw what happened. But no, I mean, nothing that I've seen so far would indicate that Redfall is going to be the standard moving forward. Because even before Redfall, we were all happy with Hi-Fi Rush. That, dropped out of nowhere and was amazing. I think the question mark a lot of people had was Xbox meeting expectations about releases. Because they have not been good on that. Halo Infinite delayed a year, should have been delayed 2. Psychonauts 2 delayed a year. Redfall and Starfield both delayed a year. So Xbox's problems have been gearing up to get the acquired studios to a point where they can deliver content and overall just releasing games when they say they're going to release them has been Xbox's problem.
Let me hit you with one question on that. Do you think it would be better for Xbox to not even give any sort of rough window that they couldn't commit to, or transition to just giving us release dates like 3 months out? What do you think is the better strategy for messaging to fans and delivering on expectations?
Like, if you asking me if we see Avowed at this showcase, and Avowed has this trailer, but it has nothing at the end, not even a year, are you asking me if that's better than saying 2024? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I'm asking you if they should just throw out dates arbitrarily, or I'm sure there's consideration. I know these numbers don't come out of thin air, but a lot of people get on Xbox for not delivering. So what do they do? Do they not give a date until they know, hey, this is coming out in 3 months?
You don't have to give a release like the official. You don't have to do what Todd Howard did, and he give the release date of Starfield a year and a half in advance. You don't have to do that.
No, I think that's the wrong
but
call.
You could give a year. You could say, if, like, I'll be disappointed for the second time we see Avowed if it doesn't actually give a year. Because then it's like, okay, so I waited 3 years to see this game again, and I still don't know when it might actually come out. I think that people would jump on that and be like, oh, yeah, we're happy we saw this update to this game, but when's it still coming? I don't know, because Xbox won't tell us. Oh, whatever. I mean, so I don't expect them to be like, oh, Avowed's coming September 8th, 2024, giving that release date all the way in June of this year. I agree. That's sort of unrealistic in this day and age where most developers and most publishers aren't giving a release date until they know. Like Spider-Man 2, for instance, didn't have a release date at the show. No. It's just at fall 2023. So they weren't confident enough to put a date on it. They're probably still, they're like, well, we don't want to date it for the beginning of September and then run into some problems and have to delay it to the end of September or October. So we want to wait. I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for date the games in 2024, but I would like to know what games are at least targeting 2024 internally at this point.
I think that's a good balance. If they can just give us a year, like you said, it doesn't need to be a specific date, but give some sort of expectation. Say this is the target. Obviously, I think at this point we all know that can change, but having that target to look forward to at least lets us speculate on what the year could look like. So I think that's a good balance. I don't need or even want a date unless you know what that date is with severe extreme confidence. It's, again, there's the marketing stuff that needs to be factored in, and that's the big reason we get hard dates. And I understand the marketing justification, but as a player, I don't need it. I don't care. Unless you know for a fact, unless you can guarantee that date, I don't need to see it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So yeah, I agree. I'm still excited about Xbox. I'm still excited about the Xbox show. I think
hope so. You're an Xbox podcast host and content creator. I hope you're excited about Xbox.
Yeah, there's something I always talk about with Xbox right now is that, they've invested more in their future than they ever have in the past. And that's exciting because that potentially means we'll get more games and theoretically better games from Xbox in the future. And that's exciting. And again, they haven't delivered on that for some people, and I understand that some people are critical of Xbox, and I think that's fine. In some ways, for some fans of some platforms and some audiences, they have something to prove that other platforms don't. That being said, I look at what's coming, what's already confirmed, what's speculated from Xbox, and then beyond that, and I'm incredibly excited because there's just a lot of promise and potential, and that's what's always been there for Xbox is the kind of scrappy underdog. When OG Xbox came out of the gate. They came out of the gate strong. They were aggressive with partnerships. They were aggressive with exclusives. They were, trying to make a name for themselves. It wasn't just the Xbox arbitrarily doing a console because that's what was cool at the time. It was a passionate group of people who loved video games. And I look at the current team today and I get that same energy. It's important to know that the people involved with Xbox on a executive level love video games because, it's easy to...
And we didn't even mention, Miles, how aggressive Xbox was this week with that salacious tweet after the PlayStation showcase.
Oh, yeah. So if you're unaware, first off, Stein immediately after the show, Stein dropped the date of the Xbox show. And he just had this smirk. I was like, oh, damn, that's some confident energy. And then
called out IGN, bro. He even called out your
yeah, and then Xbox, had a tweet ready, but that thing was the graphic was primed. That graphic was ready. The second the PlayStation showcase ended, boom, big graphic of all of the multi-platform games saying these are coming to Xbox. Most of the games you saw at the PlayStation show are also coming to Xbox.
Triggered so many people, Miles. I'm sure. Did you see some of the how dare Xbox do this? What do you mean?
Some people were so dramatic. I don't think it was as aggressive or cynical as people made it out to be. I think really
they do it every year for this. Whatever.
you're doing it as, you're promoting games that are coming to your platform. That's good for the publishers you're working with. You want to do that. You want to share in the moment and say, hey, this game is coming to our platform as well. You can be excited here as well. And I think that's mostly what it was, but people read that as some sort of like dunk or attack on PlayStation. And maybe part of that was because a lot of us, myself included, were expecting way more exclusives at the show.
True, but I think even if there were a bunch of exclusives, I still think they make that tweet to let people know these are the games from the showcase. Because everybody's wondering, because PlayStation has a history of like, oh, you see something and you're wondering, is that going to be exclusive? Because they bought Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy 16 and Silent Hill 2 and, Stray, Sifu. So, like, when you see some of these games that are unannounced, right? And you're wondering, okay, did PlayStation spend money for this? Is this going to be exclusive? You don't really know. Like, for a lot of people who don't like follow Jez Corden or whatever, Metal Gear Solid 3, I'm sure a lot of people thought, oh, that's probably exclusive, right?
Dude, people thought Destiny.
People
thought Destiny 1 was a PlayStation exclusive. Even after it was out. Even after it was out in the world, I had people on the streets tell me they thought that Destiny was a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, so I think it's incredibly smart, but a lot of people thought it was like some attack at PlayStation, but it was nice. I want to see more of that. I don't know why IGN wanted to cut it out and watermark it for their own, because Stein had something to say about that too.
Yeah, I did see that interaction. That made me chuckle. I was like, oh.
This is like, okay, Xbox, I see what you're doing.
Because we see that all the time on social media. And Stein, he works for the social media team, and I'm sure there's nothing more infuriating than seeing a graphic like taken by a YouTuber or taken from... I've seen people do that on tweets. I've seen people copy and paste my exact tweet and then take images.
You accused me of that.
Take images from my post and repost it. I'm like, dog.
You were like, bro, I did that. And I'm like, I actually didn't see yours. I saw somebody else's. And you were
somebody
like, oh,
robbed
really?
me first. Okay, that's what happened.
The meme of
the Senua meme.
Senua, which even the official Xbox account stole from you, Miles.
The official Xbox account couldn't even give me a quote tweet. Come on, Stein. Yeah. Same energy, Stein. All right, what's up? All right. Anyway. Let's talk about Summer Game Fest. There are 40 partners, I think, 40 developers and publishers who are going to be there. We're not going to go through all of them, but I have boiled it down to the biggest publishers, and we're going to go publisher by publisher and talk about what we expect to see. And let's go alphabetical just for shits and giggles. Activision, Rand. Activision is an official partner of Summer Game Fest, Jeff Keighley's summer show. What is Activision bringing to the table this year?
I mean, I would imagine Crash Team game.
Crash Team Rumble?
Yep. Yeah, that's the only thing I can really think of. Maybe Diablo, maybe something Diablo related, because the game's launching. The game would have launched. And I know you might be thinking, well, it'll be out already. Yeah, but I'm sure they still want to let people know Diablo's out. So maybe Crash Team and maybe something from Diablo 4.
I'm with you. That's exactly what I have in my notes. Crash Team Rumble gameplay, a Diablo 4 commercial, and an Overwatch commercial.
Oh, I don't know about an Overwatch commercial, but...
You don't think so? You don't think they're going to announce a new season? Or...
Maybe. Crash Team for sure, though, because that game's launching.
That's their next big game that's coming out. So that... Maybe they'll bring Crash Bandicoot back again. I know he was there. What was it, last year? We saw Crash in the fur, gamers on stage. Yeah. Talk about Crash Team Rumble. Bandai Namco.
Well, that's got to be Armored Core 6, right?
Yep. Armored Core 6. That's their big game. Confirmed.
Maybe Elden Ring DLC?
That's what I'm curious about. They announced it in January. They made it official. February. And that was kind of around the 1-year anniversary of Elden Ring. And that got me thinking. If they did it that way and said it's in development, I could see us not getting the confirmation soon, or I could see them wanting to have something for the anniversary and then have the gameplay reveal later on. So I'm going to say maybe Shadow of the Erd Tree, maybe a teaser. I don't think we're going to get a date or anything for that yet, but maybe given Jeff's history with Elden Ring, they're gonna.
I mean, does Bandai have any other stuff that could potentially show up? I'm not really too.
I think they have some other RPG stuff. They announced that Blue Protocol game is delayed to 2024, which was the Amazon Games and Bandai. And Amazon Games is a partner, so maybe we get something from that, from Blue Protocol, the JRPG MMO. But other than that, I think Armored Core is the only one that I would almost guarantee is going to be there from Bandai.
I wonder if Armored Core could show up at Xbox's show.
That would be cool. We know Xbox has revealed other big stuff, including Elden Ring. A lot of people forget that Xbox had the Elden Ring reveal, which is a big deal, and the Dark Souls 3 reveal. So, maybe Xbox gets the Elden Ring Shadows of the Erd Tree teased. What about Capcom? We know Capcom's already put out Resident Evil this year. We know they put out Monster Hunter Rise for Xbox earlier this year. We know Street Fighter 6 comes out before Summer Game Fest, comes out on the 2nd. But they've also said that this year is going to be their biggest year ever in terms of software sales. So what the hell else are they shipping this fiscal year? They have to have something else.
You would figure Street Fighter 6 might show up in a commercial of some sort.
Yeah.
I know Exo Primal launches in July, so that's primed to maybe be there, but then also could be in an Xbox show because that's Game Pass day one. Maybe you put a Xbox's own showcase to remind people. I don't know. What else could Capcom have this year? Dragon's Dogma is 2 not dated, so I doubt we see that again.
Yeah, we just saw Dragon's Dogma 2, so I can't imagine.
I was thinking, do they announce the new Monster Hunter, perhaps? Like Monster Hunter World 2? But would that have been at a PlayStation show and not necessarily Keely's show? I don't know.
Monster Hunter World 1 was at an Xbox show, but my first thought when Capcom tells me that they're going to break their game copies sold record, my first gut instinct is Monster Hunter World 2. I don't know what other franchise they have that's going to be able to do those kind of numbers. Street Fighter is going to be huge, but we've seen the lifetime sales of Street Fighter, the entire franchise, are 50 million. Capcom needs to sell, I think, 45 million copies in this fiscal year to beat their previous year's record. So what kind of franchise are they dropping this year that's going to do at least 10 million or more copies? Monster Hunter has to be it, right?
Yeah, but if it what is Capcom's fiscal year though? Could that
it ends in March? It ends in March.
I mean, I would imagine if Monster Hunter World 2 was coming this year, that would already be announced. That'd be something you probably want to start marketing towards. I don't know.
Again, I don't think they throw those kind of financial numbers around loosely because
no, I agree with you. There
are consequences, but I'm flabbergasted to think about a Capcom game that's going to come out and sell 20 mil.
Dino Crisis, baby.
Oh, damn!
Dino Crisis remake. There's your 20 million copies.
That's it? That's doing 20 million. That's crushing Resident Evil 4 figures. Just slapping Resident Evil 4 around. The Dino Crisis remake the world's been waiting for.
Yep. The anticipation is real.
So I think we're going to see Street Fighter 6 there. Again, a trailer of some kind. Probably not a new announcement, but a trailer to say, hey, the game's out now. Exo Primal, again, that's their big game coming up. That's coming out in a couple weeks. Maybe they announce new character. Maybe they announce some sort of new something for Exo Primal. But outside of that, Capcom hasn't confirmed a showcase this year, correct? They had one last year.
Don't think so.
Ubisoft has a show.
Ubisoft does have a show. Yeah.
I don't think Capcom has a show. So if they have one big reveal, it's either going to be at Xbox at this point, or
imagine a Monster Hunter World 2 announcement at Xbox.
Back to back, baby. Imagine if they do that. Imagine if they do back to back Monster Hunter World 2. But that being said, given those sales expectations, I don't think that's a Game Pass drop. I don't think that's a Game Pass.
Probably not. No.
They're looking to crank some numbers out with whatever it is. But for Jeff Keighley's show, I'm just going to stick with Street Fighter 6 and Exo Primal. CD Projekt. CD Projekt had that big, it was just investor fluff where they said, hey, we're working on 50 games. Here you go. 500 Witcher spin-offs. So they announced like four games. We haven't seen anything yet from those. What do you think we see at Summer Game Fest from CD Projekt?
My first thought would be the expansion for Cyberpunk. Because isn't it supposed to be coming out sometime soon?
It's supposed to be coming out sometime soon.
I would imagine that. You got Idris Elba in it. So yeah, that would be what I would expect to see.
You know what I expect to see? I expect Idris Elba to come out on stage and announce the shadow drop of Phantom Liberty DLC. It's shadow dropping at the show. That's my guess. Not only that, but they either have Keanu or Idris Elba come out and announce the shadow drop. Let's go! Hype moment. Big hype moment for Jeff. Am I off base? You think they'll do it?
I mean, that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
That'd be fun. And there we go. Everyone loves a good shadow drop, and I think that's something that we already know it's coming. We already know it's coming soon. So let's shadow drop it, baby. Let's do it. That's my official prediction. Witcher. Do they tease Witcher?
I'm gonna say no.
I agree. I think the only thing we're gonna see from CD Projekt is the Phantom Liberty DLC, and I think it's gonna be a shadow drop. EA. I don't. I put that on here because they're a big publisher, but I'm not really sure what EA is gonna show outside of sports, brother. Some sports.
Yeah, I mean they got that Immortals of Evrim game that they showed at the PlayStation showcase. It is a new IP. Maybe they run a new trailer here for that because that's supposed to be coming out in July, I think.
That's their.
I mean, I don't know. Well, okay. What about the new soccer game that's not called FIFA? Is this year's?
Oh
like
yeah,
FC something. Yeah. Maybe you run something for that.
Maybe get the reveal for that or an update on whatever that is. Okay.
Maybe I don't know. Like what else?
I kind of agree. I think Immortals of Avium is probably we're going to see it again because that's the big upcoming EA project. They have
I can't see there being a trailer for Dragon Age. I can't see there being something new for Mass Effect, right? So
Mass Effect, Dragon Age, are they going that level? We've seen Dragon Age before at Jeff shows. Do you think there's a possibility for Dragon
Well,
Age?
we saw Dragon Age and Mass Effect at Jeff shows, both of them.
So there is precedent that suggests maybe
possibly. But Dragon Age is supposed to happen before Mass Effect, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct. So Dragon Age would be the next thing. So that would be the most likely update at a Jeff show.
Possibly. Maybe if Dragon Age is something, maybe it's that. Maybe it's the soccer game, you know, because you need to let people know it ain't FIFA this time.
It ain't FIFA. Yeah, okay. If there is a big EA thing, it's Dragon Age, I think is where I'm at.
I'd agree with you on that.
Otherwise, it's Immortals of Avium, and then something sports. And I think that covers all the bases. Dude, PlayStation. We all know PlayStation's holding back. PlayStation said, you know what? Nah. We ain't giving all the bangers here because we're saving the bangers for our boy Jeff. We love our boy Jeff, so we're giving him some goods. What's PlayStation got?
Well, my first thought is, Jeff. It's funny because Jeff, you tweeting the PlayStation showcase each one of the games. You know which one he didn't tweet, Miles? He didn't tweet anything
a little
about
game called Metal Gear
Solid. Because he's in Death Stranding. He's BFFs with Kojima.
And Konami did his boy dirty. I'm sorry. Konami did his boy dirty. So
and he gave Jeff Death Stranding 2 at the TGAs this past year. Could he be showing off another trailer for Death Stranding 2? Possible. Also, a lot of people are expecting PC announcements from PlayStation. So maybe PlayStation comes and drops off hey, Demon Souls is coming to PC and Ghost of Tsushima is coming to PC. Boom, done. And it's not, it's like
it's a quick PC here's a few like a trailer with a bunch of PC drops.
Yeah.
I could see that. That's a good way to get your brand out there, to a wider audience.
Something like that.
One thing I've noticed, and I noticed this the last time around when we got towards this season, is our boy Kojima has been retweeting Death Stranding fan art like a mother. Hundreds and hundreds.
He does that every day. He's been doing that since the game came out.
He doesn't do it to this level every day. But last year, right around the announcement of Death Stranding 2, same deal. I look at my feed and it's just a wall of Death Stranding fan art. And again, I know he does it regularly, but this boy is going all in. Just an extreme level. And like you said, we know Jeff Keighley and Kojima are tight. We got the reveal last year. I think there's a genuine possibility we get another trailer for Death Stranding. We know the Kojima cycle. It takes a lot of weird trailers to build up to a Kojima release. We also know, given how quick the turnaround was for Death Stranding 1, that Kojima's productions are pretty efficient at developing games. And considering we've seen in-engine footage already of Death Stranding 2, the game is far along. So I could definitely see PlayStation have another trailer for Death Stranding 2 at the show. Outside of that, I think, I agree. Maybe a cool PC splasher is going to be there, but I think that would be, if we see anything big from PlayStation, it would be Death Stranding 2. And I was kind of expecting to see Silent Hill 2 at the PlayStation Showcase as well. But considering Konami's not listed on the list, I think that's
probably not going to be there.
I think that Konami... The Jeff's policy on Konami might be universal. I don't know. I'm wondering if the Jeff won't have Konami games at Summer Game Fest just because of the whole Kojima relationship, or if it's excluded to just Metal Gear. I don't know, but I'm expecting to see Silent Hill 2 somewhere, sometime this year. I have no idea where now at this point. Sega, Rand. Sega's gonna be there. They just dropped Sonic Frontiers last year. What's Sega cooking? They've got ambitious plans for the future. Their games as a service push, their NFT push. They're looking to diversify their portfolio, and they're looking to get some, what they call them, mega games. They talked about their super game initiative, where they want games that are going to just consume people's lives to come out. So, what are they cooking, bro? What do they got up their sleeves?
I was thinking Hyenas.
Oh yeah. I forget that's a Sega joint.
Yeah, that's the game from Creative Assembly, I think, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yes, I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head who's developing that.
Yeah, I think that's it's Creative Assembly. I think that was revealed last year, I want to say. So,
yes, I believe it was revealed last year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally revealed last year, like June 22nd, 2022, I believe. So yeah, why not? A year later, why not?
Hyenas, let's go. I know people have been playing it, right? There's been some closed beta tests, some hands-on sessions. So I'm curious to see what that is. Again, another kind of like games as a service shooter. What competition is fierce, but I'm curious to see what they do with that. I think I'm torn. I think Sega's going to have one big reveal this year. I just don't know if it's going to be at the Xbox show or at Summer Game Fest.
What are you thinking? You thinking Jet Set Radio?
I'm thinking Jet Set Radio's back, baby. Jet Set Radio is getting announced this year, in my opinion. I think it's time.
I also think the Persona 3 remake thing is real, but I think that's at Xbox's show, so that wouldn't be at the Keighley's.
So give Keighley's because Jet Set Radio was specifically mentioned in their pitch for the super game initiative. Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi, which if we got either of those, I'd be stoked. But Jet Set Radio is the one that I think right in this day and age could come back and get people excited in a big way. So that's the one, if I'm Sega, I'm leaning into first before I go back to the Crazy Taxi well. So that's the one I think if Sega's dropping a big game this year, that's it. That's the reveal.
All right. I mean, I didn't play Jet Set Radio, so I'll have to play this one.
You didn't play either? You didn't play Jet Set Radio or Jet Set Radio Future on OG Xbox?
Nope.
I know you weren't really an OG Xbox guy.
I didn't get into OG Xbox until 2004, so I did not play those.
Xbox fans' favorite publishers next, Square Enix. Square Enix is also going to be at this show. Rand, what do you think Square's got up their sleeve?
Another Final Fantasy 16 trailer.
The Xbox reveal of Final Fantasy 7 remake.
And more foam stars.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 16 for sure. I'll give you $50, Rand, if Final Fantasy 16 isn't there.
Hey, did you know Final Fantasy 16's coming?
Did you? Yeah, it's going to be that game where it's coming soon. They're just market. Throw those marketing dollars out, get people riled up. Do you think we get a new trailer or actually our first trailer for Dragon Quest 12, which was announced 2 years ago? It's been a hot minute since we've heard anything about Dragon's Quest 12.
No, because I sort of feel Dragon's Quest 12 would be at a Nintendo Direct.
I could see that. I don't.
That's what I think.
That's the one I would think if there's a big Square Enix reveal, it would be Dragon Quest related. They just did announce that Infinity Strash Quest of Dragon. I probably butchered that name. Some Dragon Quest game is coming to Xbox at least. So there's hope that Dragon Quest stays multi-platform for a little while at least. But I want my damn Mana games, Rand. Years ago they said, "Oh, we're working on new Mana games for consoles." Where are they? Huh?
They're on PlayStation.
It's probably gonna be a PlayStation exclusive. We still don't even have the other ports on Xbox yet. All right. My hopes are dashed. Ubisoft, Rand. What are we seeing from Ubisoft?
So at their own show,
they're going to be at Summer
right?
They got their own show. So I think Jeff is counting that. Jeff is counting that. I assume.
Are we
Jeff
talking specifically Jeff's show or like Ubisoft's own? Because Jeff is like labeling the whole week.
Exactly. So we have to be careful.
Summer Games Fest.
I assume he's counting the Ubisoft show as part of Summer Game Fest.
So I mean, if you're counting that, like a new Just Dance, of course.
Yeah.
A deeper look at Assassin's Creed Mirage. Another look at Skull and Bones because that game's got to come out at some point.
I don't think we see Skull and Bones.
Okay. Splinter Cell. Finally. I mean,
are they gonna give it to you, Rand?
They better give it to me.
Do you deserve it?
I want it at the Xbox show.
I want it to be a PlayStation exclusive. Is what I want.
I mean, Miles. I'm all right. Later, guys. Peace. You do this to me
just to watch you squirm, okay?
I would still play it on my PlayStation, but come on.
No, I don't think that would be the case. I don't think that's.
I mean, X Defiant.
Oh God, yep, I forgot about that. X Defiant,
Division Heartland. Right, they got a bunch of stuff potentially.
The one that I think will be their big new thing is the gameplay reveal for Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora.
Yeah, right. That, but there's also their Star Wars game. That massive.
Oh, that's right. Oh, they were one of the contract studios. You think we get a tease for that then?
I mean, there's a rumor that game's coming out sooner than we think. So if it is, I would imagine the first look we would get is either at Keighley's show or at Ubisoft's own show. But yeah, that Avatar game's gotta. Have they even run like a game? Do we even know what that game? I think I've
one CG trailer.
I feel like I've seen leaked gameplay footage of that.
Or actually, was it one of those trailers that said it was in engine?
No, I have seen leaked gameplay because I think Tom Henderson posted. It's basically Far Cry on Pandora.
That's this. Yeah. It's
basically like a first-person shooter, but set on Pandora. It's basically Far Cry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the current leaks rumors is that it's going to be a first-person Far Cry-like game set on Pandora.
Yeah, that game's probably got to be there. The Star Wars thing. Maybe Ubisoft has a good show. Maybe they do.
Because they kind of need one right now. They've had some developments.
They down in the dumps.
Investors aren't happy. Fans aren't happy. It's been a rough period for Ubisoft. What did we see from Warner Bros?
Mortal Kombat, we already know.
Yep,
because they already said.
Yep,
and Wonder Woman.
Oh, you think they're gonna do Wonder Woman too?
Yeah, Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I mean,
Okay.
Jeff had the reveal of Wonder Woman at
damn.
not this past year, but the year before. Could easily see Wonder Woman being there for this time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Mortal Kombat 1 for sure. Again, that's guaranteed. Do you think we get confirmation that Johnny Cage isn't playable at Summer Game Fest?
Isn't playable or is playable?
Is not. Because there's the whole like discourse about the cameo characters and what that means. Are they just assist characters? And are you really going to give a skin for a cameo character that makes him look like Jean-Claude Van Damme, but we don't get to play as Jean-Claude Van Damme? Really?
I don't know, Miles. I don't know. They're playing with fire with this.
Woo! You get me riled up. I'm not even a Johnny Quest or Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest.
Throwback Johnny Cage, man. But I feel for them. All right, I'm a Reptile main, so I've been hurting. I've been hurting for years. So I don't think he's coming back, and that's gonna hurt. It's gonna cut real deep. But I would love to see Wonder Woman. I want to see what that game is. Because one thing that excites me, as much as I'm not a huge superhero fan, is how they bring those superpowers to a game engine and bring those games to life. Like, are we going to just have a badass, like, crackdown, but you have a sword and shield? Or what's the hook of Wonder Woman going to be? I want to see what that is.
Well, Monolith's making it, right? So,
yes.
Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor. I would imagine it's probably an open world Wonder Woman game, potentially. Using, that engine with that sort of design philosophy.
Okay.
What I would think.
All
maybe.
Right. I'm here for it. I want to see it. I'm ready. Let's go.
You can use her whip to get around really quickly places, maybe like run really fast. I mean, we'll see.
Xbox. So Xbox.
We finally come. What is this? 2.5 hours in. We're finally talking about Xbox predictions, Miles.
So hold on. Okay. We're talking about Xbox specifically at the Summer Game Fest opening night.
Yeah, but like we said, that's so vague. He could just
he's definitely counting the Xbox show, and we're going to talk about the Xbox show. But I want to know, what, if anything, does Xbox give to Jeff at opening night live? Anything?
A Game Pass commercial.
A Ninja Game Pass commercial? Do we get some of those?
Is it still called One Night Live, or is it Summer Games Fest? I feel like he hasn't mentioned the One Night Live thing in a while.
Is that Gamescom? Gamescom is opening night live, right?
Yeah.
And then Summer Game Fest, I forget what he calls the first, whatever the kickoff is. I forget what he calls, but the Summer Game Fest live event, the showcase part of Summer Game Fest. What is Xbox showing there specifically? Let me punch this mic.
I mean, Game Pass commercial.
That's
I would imagine. I mean,
that's it.
But what are they going to give him? Because they got their own show literally 3 days later. What? Why would you give him anything? Unless you want to give him something small, like an Age of Empires 4 console announcement.
Ooh,
right?
A Game Pass montage.
Like, hey, Age of Empires 4 is coming to console, and here's the date. Boom, you can have that at the Keeley's. Something like that.
See, when I look at PlayStation and Xbox, when I look at
or you know what?
Maybe
season 10, boom. Halo Infinite season 4, boom, at the Keeley's. Something like that.
There you go. Right? Pull people in, get people excited. Because again, the non-platform specific shows, as we've seen, they do bigger numbers, generally speaking. Like, more people tune in. So if you're Xbox and PlayStation, while you have your own event and you want people to tune into your own event, it's a way to reach people that wouldn't tune into your event specifically. And then there's obviously the marketing cycle where people run news stories about all the announcements and people get fed information that way. So it still gets out there in some way, shape, or form. But there is a contingent of people who are not going to tune into an Xbox show or not going to tune into a PlayStation show. So I think it makes sense from a marketing perspective to sprinkle in just something of note, something worthwhile. Again, if a new Sea of Thieves collaboration is part of the next upcoming season, it's a big deal. Do that. But what I really want to see, Rand, and it's not going to happen, but if it happened, it would be the coolest thing ever. The double Kojima feature. We get Death Stranding 2, and we get the Xbox Kojima game. at Summer Game Fest. Both are there. We unite the console gamers once and for all. Everyone comes together, embraces the majesty of Kojima, and everyone just has a good time. All right, I want to see that moment where Kojima has, first off, 2 games at one showcase, and one is a PlayStation exclusive and one is an Xbox exclusive. Let's do it, Rand. Am I out of my mind? Is that happening?
I mean, that would be interesting.
I don't, because again, I don't think Xbox would want to give Jeff.
Let me ask you this: could you? I'm saying like Kojima's game would be more situated for the Game Awards. Doesn't it get more viewership? The Game Awards versus
Game Awards,
Game
yeah,
Fest?
Game Awards gets huge viewership. Yeah.
So, and that's what I would hold it for. But I'm thinking of like, what do I don't want to see at the Xbox show? I don't want to see Sea of Thieves again because I'm assuming we will because Season 10 is coming.
Yep.
I don't particularly want to see Halo there and don't show me anything from Halo until it's the Project Tatanka. But I know Season 4 is coming like June 20th.
Yep.
So they're going to have a new trailer. So that probably might be at the show. So you know what? Free up some time. Give it to Keeley. Let Keeley run a Halo trailer. Let Keeley run a Sea of Thieves trailer. Or let Keeley run the Age of Empires 4 console announcement. 'Cause I don't want to see that.
Clear some more time for the banger. See, the only, I know some of us don't want it. You don't want those kind of updates, but I think the updates logically make more sense at the fan-centric shows because ultimately these shows are probably for the people already invested in the Xbox ecosystem. They have potential to bring in new, but you are catering to an audience that is there. And so it makes more sense to give the updates at those kind of events. Whereas if you're watching Summer Game Fest, if you don't play Sea of Thieves or play Halo, like that's not really going to do anything for Xbox at that kind of show. So I do agree it would free up time for Xbox to show for bigger reveals, but Xbox Game Showcase is a fan show. There's Fan Fest dedicated to it. So it makes sense to have Sea of Thieves and Halo Infinite updates there if they were going to provide them.
And Xbox is going large, Miles. They're putting the show in the theaters this time.
Theaters. Let's get into it, man. But first, I got to get to some super chats. Got to give some shout outs. But yes, Xbox is setting expectations kind of high. There's been some wording saying this is the day you've been waiting for. They're putting this in theaters. The Xbox showcase will be in theaters as well. There was the energy we saw immediately after the PlayStation showcase. So, I don't know. Expectations are high. But first, some super chats. Appreciate all of you dropping the support. It means a lot. Nintendon the Otaku says, I'm at one of those 6 games. Not all. I know. We were just teasing you. I know you didn't mean every single Xbox game would make it an A. Purple Haze 4564 says, Hey all, in my opinion, I really think Microsoft needs to go get an exclusive deal with the developers making Black Myth Wukong. Your thoughts? Brand, do they need to lock down that?
I mean, they just need to make sure that game comes to Xbox, really.
There's a lot of energy behind it. That would be a disappointing one to see skip Xbox.
Yeah.
Silent Cypher says, if it's going to be Capcom's biggest financial year, they're definitely not bringing out a Code Veronica remake in this fiscal year.
Oh.
Yeah, he gets it. He gets it, all right? They want to sell copies, not turn people off of the franchise.
You're a Code Veronica hater, aren't you?
I am. I'm notoriously. Resident Evil is one of my favorite franchises of all time. There's really only 2 Resident Evil games I don't like. 0 and Code Veronica. Outside of that, I'll play 6. I'll play 6, I'll play 5.
Yeah, but why wouldn't a remake of Code Veronica work?
I mean, I guess if they just remade everything about the game, it could work. Yeah, if you just throw away the original and make it something else and call it Code Veronica, yeah, you could make it work.
I feel like you'd have to do that for Resident Evil 6, though.
Yeah, if they remake 6, I would be fine if nothing was the same.
What if you get Resident Evil 5 remake soon?
We will. I can promise you we are getting Resident Evil 5 remake. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. Mark my words. There's going to be people who are already mad about the idea of Resident Evil 5 being remade, but If you played Resident Evil 4 Remake, you know deep down in your heart that it's there. They set the groundwork. Oh, I'm ready. Oh, I'm so ready for it. I will say, if they take out co-op of the Resident Evil 5 Remake, though, ooh, man. Ooh. We can have some words. Silent Cypher says they better have the Nemesis system in Wonder Woman. Do you think they have the Nemesis system in Wonder Woman, Rand?
I mean, they do own the patents for that. You'd have to... I can't just see them using it for regular goons. Do you have enough villains in there? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe. All right, Rand. Now it is time for the Xbox show. Appreciate everyone still hanging out, having a good time. Again, if you are new, we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, want to help me reach 2,000 before the end of May, smash that button. Rand, let's talk about Xbox. Again, we've talked...
Miles, can we talk about where I need to invoice you for all this extra time?
Rand, your podcasts are always 5 hours. We're only at 2.5. What's
I know,
up?
but I'm just saying. Where do I invoice you for the overtime?
This is rookie stuff. These are rookie numbers for you, man. You're a seasoned vet. We won't go that much longer, I promise. Just another like 4 hours, and we'll get out of here.
Okay. A typical Xbox 2.
We'll try to. We'll just try to surpass an Iron Lords episode. That's my goal.
Oh, jeez.
And then
okay.
It gets to the point where my bladder's going to explode.
Here. Took us a while to get here, but we're here. Xbox show, baby. Are you doing Chaturdays next week?
Yes, I am doing Chaturdays next week. Yes, I am.
And I take it you're doing Chaturdays on the 10th as well?
Yes, that's the plan.
Because you're not going to LA like the cool peeps, right?
I'm not. No, I was going to, but it's my workload is not realistic. I was just gonna say screw work and go, but unfortunately, I got rent to pay, so I'm not unfortunately going to LA. But all the cool kids will be in LA. I'll be here in Seattle.
I'll be here
sweating.
too, Miles. I'll be here too.
Okay, well, we'll be brothers in arms. But yeah, I'm planning to cover it. I want to do a live show. I want to do Chaturdays before and after and all that good stuff. But let's talk about the show, Rand. Because
all right, let's talk about it.
As we've said, some Xbox fans, they're down bad. They're down bad. They've lost faith in Xbox. Redfall was the straw that broke the camel's back. They said, Redfall, if you can't deliver Redfall, I have no confidence in you delivering Starfield. I have no confidence in you delivering anything. You've betrayed me. You've hurt me for the last time. Then there's other people who look at the show and say, man, the potential's huge. We got Avowed, we got Perfect Dark, we got Fable, we got State of Decay 3, we got Everwild, we have Hellblade 2, we have Forza Motorsport, Outer Worlds 2, In Exile, Contraband, 500, Xbox have 500 games at the show. So Rand, I want to go down a list of the obvious known suspects and just say, yes or no, is this going to be there? And then
Can I just kind of cut in and just say it's difficult because Microsoft threw us the curveball last year, right? Because you're going to go down this list and say yes or no to these, but some of these I would have said yes last year, and like we were expecting, and then no, they pulled that curveball, and it threw everybody off.
Exactly. So, yeah, the 12-month what? That changes the conversation.
Like, oh, really? So, yeah, I mean, okay, we'll do yes or no what I'm expecting, but we'll do yes or no. Microsoft's thinking.
These are speculations, right? And let's say we're assuming they don't do the 12-month thing. Yes. Maybe they will, but these predictions are based on the idea that that's not happening. Is where I'm at, because I don't think that's happening.
I hope it's not happening.
I think they learned some hard lessons.
Says he knows it's not happening because he knows of a game that's not coming in the next 12 months, but who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
All right, run down this list, Miles. Let's go.
Avowed. Will Avowed be there?
Yes.
When's Avowed coming?
2024.
Q1?
Q4.
Q4. I think Avowed will be there. I think it's sooner. I think it's first half of 2024. I won't say Q1, but first half of 2024. We'll see. I think we'll see Avowed.
I'm thinking it's a good shot to open the show, because that's what's great about this show. That's what's great about this one. No Redfall, no Starfield, right? They closed and opened the last two shows. Starfield's got its own 30 minutes after it, That means we get a new game to open and new game to close.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see
So-
some of the good. Let's get some updates. Let's see some new stuff. But Avowed, yes. Phil Spencer, I'm sorry, he pretty much said as much. And then in that kind of funny interview, again, we talk about setting expectations. We talk about messaging. When Phil Spencer says specifically that Avowed and Hellblade 2 are coming in the next few quarters, yeah, I can't imagine a world where we don't see Avowed at this show. That would be just
I'd be
mind-blowing.
Like, what?
That would be I would be baffled. People would be digging up that interview
this would
and
be
saying,
as baffling as
"What?"
factions. This would be as baffling as factions not being at the PlayStation show, right?
Yeah, it would be
If
more
Avowed wasn't
baffling.
there.
It would be like if Neil Druckmann came out in an interview a month before that tweet saying it was going to be delayed and saying, "Yeah, it's on track to ship in 2023," and then they put out that tweet.
Avowed, I'm feeling good about Avowed, and honestly, Miles, I think it could open or close.
I think, yeah.
I'm gonna say, I don't know. I haven't really made my prediction video yet, but maybe there's a chance it opens.
It would be a good way to set the tone.
Would it be a good opener?
It would be a good opener. I think, yes. Start it with something that isn't brand new, but people have been curious about. And again, a lot of the fan feedback right now has been, yo, where are these games you previously announced? We want to see those games. Start with that. Start with that and saying, hey, we hear you. We know you want to see it. Here's one. Here's something we've been working on. Boom. Avowed would be a cool way to start the show, especially if the gameplay looks incredible. And I mean, that developer has been so ridiculously consistent. I have no doubt that it will be a great experience. So yeah, Avowed will be there, and I think it's first half of 2024.
All right. I mean, I'm Q4, but I'd be down for that.
Perfect Dark. I don't know how to feel about this one.
That's a big fat no from me.
I'm with you. I don't think Perfect Dark will be there. I know people are saying we're going to see gameplay based on the way that they've messaging and the recent announcements of like the collaboration for development and all that. All those things indicate to me that one maybe isn't ready to showcase. And again, I think at this point for the stuff that's already been announced, I think they're waiting to have the big gameplay moment, the big reveal. So Perfect Dark for me, Perfect Dark is a no from me, dog.
Yeah, I agree.
Hellblade 2, Rand.
This is very much like Avowed, where I'm like, it has to be.
Not only does this have to be there, this has to have like not necessarily a date, but it needs to have like this window. Fall holiday 2023 or Q1 2024. It has
honestly,
to be that.
It has to be like, you got to give us combat. You got to give us like, what is the game? This would be essentially what the third trailer. Fourth, if you want to include the little vid-doc thing they did, last year, I think, like during the extended gameplay, or maybe it was 2 years ago. But yeah, like this is just like Avowed. This is one of those things where like it has to be here.
Yes, Hellblade has to be there and needs to have it. Again, not necessarily a date, but they need to confirm.
And
that
I mean,
it's
just
coming
like
out.
with Avowed, I could see this opening the show. I don't necessarily know if I would see it closing the show, because I feel like to close the show, it needs to be something newer.
Yeah.
Although PlayStation just closed it with Spider-Man, but Hellblade's big enough where you could open the show with something like set the tone right and be like, look at this. All right, you got Hellblade. This is what the game is, and it's like fall 2023. Or I'm 50-50 on it coming this year, Miles. Okay. So I know it was your next question. When do you think it's coming?
It's either holiday or Q1 for me.
Like so my guess is it's Q1 2024. I
could easily see it slip, but I could also see this being the closer.
My heart is saying November.
You got Starfield
early
in September.
November.
You can't go September and then have nothing for the rest of the year. You got to have that holiday slap. You got to have the holiday bop, all right? And so if they open the show with Hellblade 2 release date, which again, I don't want to say that that's what they'll do, but if that's how they set the tone of the show, ooh, man. Ooh. That's it. That's how you come out and say, all right, we know you've seen Hellblade. We know you're excited about Hellblade. Boom. You don't have to think about Hellblade for the rest of the show, except for that you'll be playing it soon. If they can do that, damn, bruh. Let's go. Compulsion's game. Do we see that? Do we see the announcement of Compulsion's game?
I would say Yes.
They've
Yes.
they've been ramping up their social media team. They've been, alluding to some new
Didn't
hires.
they just hired a community manager, correct? If I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. I
And
mean,
you need a community manager when you have a game to manage, and
yeah, that seems to me like an announcement is imminent sort of thing.
So I'm with you. I think that of the kind of rumored ones that have been floating around, I think that's probably the most likely.
And Phil did say there are going to be new announcements.
Yes.
So
We know there will
they've
be new
been working on this
announcements.
game since they ended We Happy Few, which was like 2019-ish.
Yep.
So yeah. And if you're asking me when I think it might come out, I think it could be a 2024 game. I think it could.
I think it could. I think maybe this is one that has a closer turnaround where it's been cooking for, because they've been quiet for a while. We know they've been working on something for a while, but we haven't gotten the CG teaser. We haven't gotten any sort of official confirmation. So this is one that I could see having a quick turnaround from when it's revealed to when it ships. Again, I don't think it's going to be a surprise game for this year, but again, maybe they slap that 2024 on there. Because what do you think their approach is going to be for messaging release dates? Do you think they're going to... Obviously, they're going to show some new games. Those won't have release dates. But when it comes to stuff that we've previously seen, do you think all of it's going to have some sort of target presented?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
That's tough. Again, Xbox is coming off a show where they overcommitted to release windows. So I'm sure they're a little gun shy about saying when things are coming.
Well, they overcommitted because they were like, oh, everything's coming in the next year.
Yeah.
Putting pressure on everybody to deliver in a year. If you say coming in 2024, that gives you 18 months. It's a little bit longer. So what's next? What's on the list next?
State of Decay 3.
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to say no. Sounds like that's still a little ways out. Again, that's not a game we need to see immediately. People want to see it, but I'm going to say no as well. Next, Gears of War Collection. I know this one's been special. Nick over at Xbox Era has been talking about this for a little bit. There's been a back and forth with Jez Corden about whether or not it existed. I feel like Jez has backpedaled a little bit.
Oh, Jez has backpedaled hard on this one.
I feel like Jez has backpedaled.
So is this like one of those things where like it could be Gears related, where it's like they announced the collection and then it's like, here's a tease for Gears 6.
Yeah, do the Metal Gear, the thing we just saw with Metal Gear Solid.
If a Gears collection exists, it has to release before Gears 6 does.
Yep.
It has to.
Yep.
And you can make the argument like, oh, well, there's not a lot of Gears games on PC. I think 2 and 3 aren't on PC. So obviously this would be day one. I'm 50-50 on it, Miles, to be honest with you. Because I don't think it'd be launching this year. If it is real, I'm thinking it's 2024, because I'm thinking Gears 6 is 2025, maybe 2026. And they would need a Gears collection with all the multiplayer before that. So I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say there's a Gears collection with a Gears 6 tease.
See, that's the call. To me, I'm a huge Gears fan. We know, or we don't know, but it sounds like the experimental project the Coalition was working on has got pushed to the wayside to focus on Gears. Take what they've learned with Unreal Engine 5, focus that on Gears. I don't imagine that Gears is coming out this year, or maybe even next year. Maybe late 2024, but I don't know. But a Gears collection would be a good way to satiate fans, and I think that would be an excellent October release. Slap the Gears collection out in October if it's ready to go.
Do you think
people
it could
excited.
be this year?
I think if they're going to announce it this year, I think it comes out relatively quickly.
Okay,
because you don't need a huge lead up for a collection.
Yeah, you're right. You don't need a huge lead up. So if they announce it this year, you think it's coming this year?
Yeah, if they announce it this year, in my opinion, it's coming this year. And if they announce it this year, the right call when it comes to marketing hype, Gears 6 teaser first into the Gears collection announcement. Boom. That's it. Get people excited for Gear 6, say, hell yeah. And then the other people are like, I haven't played Gears. I'm like, well, don't worry. You can play all of them in the Gears collection this October. I think that would be my prediction for if Gears is addressed this year. That's how it plays out. Forza Motorsport. Are we finally getting the date?
I mean, Forza will be there, and we know that it's going to be at the extended showcase because they're doing a whole single player reveal of that stuff there.
They have the new cover art ready to go.
They have the cover art.
Rip
so
roaring.
we assume it's going to be there with the new trailer. I would say, yeah, we'd have the release date, but they didn't have the release date for Miles or for Spider-Man 2. So maybe they don't. Maybe they just still stay fall 2023.
I mean,
because when they did it in January, it was just 2023. They didn't give a date.
They didn't. Yeah, right? They even give a. They didn't do summer or anything.
They just said 2023. So maybe this time they do the trailer and they just say fall 2023, given a time frame. And when they know when in October or whatever it might hit later on, they could do it. So I mean, you would think, sure, yeah, we need the release date for Motorsport.
Yeah, because that's one, if they have the cover art ready to go, my thought process is they're going to announce the date with pre-orders and say, boom, pre-orders are live. Here's the Ultimate Edition. You can play it day one in Xbox Game Pass and upgrade for $39.99 to get early access on this date. I imagine that's how it could play out. But again, they've been kind of weird with the release dates for Forza. Release dates in general are just harder. But that being said, do you think it comes out later than September? Do you think it comes out after Starfield or before?
Yes, I think it's an October game.
Oh, you think it's October? I was thinking before.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking that was going to be like an August game.
I think there's 0% chance it's before Starfield.
0% chance?
I think it's 100% chance
Zero.
After Starfield. Yes. And I'm honest betting man. I'd bet my money on October.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna say August, just cause I don't have anything to quantify that, but I'm gonna say Forza Motorsports slapping out August.
Okay.
Before I'm in the before Starfield camp.
All right.
Everwild, Rand.
No. Move on. Next question.
I don't know. No. I want to see it, but I don't know. I have no idea. I would love to see it. I would love to get an update. If Rare's there with Sea of Thieves, no, probably not. But I'm very, very curious as to what because we've had multiple trailers for that game is the weirdest thing. But I know they've gone back to the drawing board in some ways, reevaluated the loop. And again, I think they're in a position where they can reevaluate the loop early on to make sure it's good. And so I'm glad they're doing that and not just forcing a game out just because. But yeah, I'd say no, probably not. I hope it's at a developer direct. That's what I want. I hope Everwild has a big highlight section of what the goal is for the game at a developer direct. I think that's a better format for something more experimental like Everwild. The Outer Worlds 2. Do we get gameplay?
No.
I think that was just a fun. Here it exists. We're working on it.
Actually, I heard that was a marketing mix-up.
Isn't that what homie Jeff Grubster was saying?
I think Jez I heard that from even some other people that it was supposed to be avowed, or it was supposed to be avowed, and there was some marketing thing, and they said thing for Outer Worlds too. I don't know.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Jeff was saying that originally the plan was to be avowed, but then there was not a last minute change, but then they decided to announce the Outer Worlds 2 instead because they had the marketing materials ready for that and ready to go there. So yeah, I think that was just, hey, this exists. It's probably not, again, Obsidian's working on a lot of projects, and I think Avowed is going to be the one they focus on next. What about In Exile? In Exile's been active on social media this year. They've been memeing. They've been having a good old time. Their meme game's fire. All right, that social media team kills it. And sure, it could just be a fire social media team, or they're trying to just get people to look at In Exile because we know they're cooking. We know they're working on something, but do we see it this year? I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say no as well.
I'm going to say we see it soon-ish, but not June-ish. Soon-ish, but not June-ish.
I like that.
Contraband. That's been a one that fans
Yeah,
have
you know what?
pointed to.
Yeah. I think we'll see it. Gameplay, first gameplay thing. Yeah, because we
That's
don't know
it.
what that game is.
I think that it was announced 2 years ago, correct?
Yeah, 2021 Project Typhoon when
And
Jez and Grub were going back and forth with project names.
Right, that's
Remember
right.
that?
The project wars, when all these
Yes.
contracts were being signed and code names were being thrown around, and everyone is digging through the weeds trying to fish up the juicy details. But it sounds like Contraband has been in development for years at this point.
Yeah.
So
they've been working on it for a while.
I could see it. I could definitely see gameplay. I could see the big gameplay reveal. Fans will finally know what it is because we've heard about the concept of the heist game with the inspired by Payday, whatever, but we don't really know what that looks like. So that would be one I could definitely see. What about Indiana Jones?
See, I think I've had this conversation with you before. This showcase is called the Xbox Game Showcase. The last two were called Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase. So either one of two things is happening. One, Microsoft decided to drop the Bethesda stuff and just call everything Xbox. Or two, it's called that because Bethesda's not going to be there. And I still don't know which one that means. I know Greenberg just posted a picture of the marketing team there with Todd, but I mean, they're doing the whole Starfield Direct.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't necessarily mean like, okay, well, they're also going to be doing stuff for Bethesda. I mean, and Bethesda's been carrying this year. Yeah, we don't know what id's working on, and we don't know some of the other studios that could announce something, but we do know Indiana Jones exists. It was, I think, revealed or announced like early 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been a couple years. There is the movie that is releasing that month. So do you want some sort of synergy where it's like, here's the Indiana Jones game, and then here's the Indiana Jones movie?
See, those things, as convenient as they are, they almost never line up that way.
No, I know. So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say Bethesda's not there at all.
I think
outside of Starfield.
That's how I feel. Like I want them to just change it to the Xbox Game Showcase just for the sake of simplicity. Just because I don't want it to be moving forward the Xbox and Bethesda and Activision Game Showcase. Like that is just, I don't like that. Xbox, it simplifies the experience. It gives that brand association. Even though they are separate entities, they're part of the, Xbox family, if you will. But that being said, I could interpret it as the way you described, where Bethesda just isn't there in a big capacity. And that's, even Starfield isn't going to be a part of the Xbox show. Starfield has its own show. So that really almost feels like there's a hard separation between what Bethesda's doing and the Xbox show. But there could be, theoretically, something there from one of Bethesda's teams. I just don't think Indiana Jones is it. I think when they announced Indiana Jones, the teaser in that way, that was, hey, we've signed the paperwork. We've officially signed the deal, because that was at the time when Disney was actively reaching out to a bunch of teams to establish new contracts and establish new projects. So to me, it feels like we got the green light, we got the approval, we are officially working on this, and that's all it was. So I don't have any idea where the state of the game is, and my inclination would be to believe it's not very far in development. So no Indiana Jones from me. This is the big one, Rand. This is the big one that I see people talk about constantly.
Okay.
Fable.
Fable.
Do we see the fabled Fable at this year's Xbox Games Showcase? And more importantly, is it the gameplay reveal of Fable?
Yeah, I do think they have to give some updates on the games from 2020 that they announced. And I do think Avowed will be one of them, but I don't think Perfect Dark so there's a part of me that is like, yeah, you know what, Miles? I'm pushing the chips all in, bro. I'm pushing them.
Hit me.
I'm gonna say Fable's there.
Gameplay is Fable gameplay there?
I don't know what it would be. Maybe it's an in-engine thing, but here's where I'll hit you with it. I think it's gonna open the show.
Fable opening the show. Rand al Thor.
Stick with me here, because it's a game that probably most people think isn't going to show up. right?
No, I think most fans are like, yeah, Fable's going to be there, but
Really? Because I have a feeling most people are like, it ain't going to be there. Because I think most, and I don't even think it's coming until 2025. So to me, it's like you have a lot of choices where you could open up a show. And Matt Booty did talk about last year about how he wants to show Fable, but Playground won't let him.
That's
right?
true. Playground wants to be ready
Maybe
for
now it's
prime
at the
time.
point, and we've seen some LinkedIn stuff where they're doing flighting and doing all these sort of things. Maybe it's at a point where you could do it.
Yeah.
And why not just start off the show hot? Here's Fable. Boom. There you go. You starting off with Fable, bro.
I think hype as that would be, I'm with you. I'm going to buy into the Fable hype. I'm going to bang that drum. I'm going to buy into the idea that we're going to see Fable at the Xbox Game Showcase. Again, with the flighting, I think we're going to see some sort of in-engine. I would love to see full-on gameplay. I would love to see, even if it's just a small taste, even if it's an in-engine sweep over the landscape, and then you see a warrior in the distance, and it kind of zooms in on them, and you see a brief couple seconds of combat. Even if it's that shows us what we can expect in some capacity from this new engine, this new philosophy to Fable. That would be good. That would be really good. But do you open a show with that? Is that that would be
here's the thing. You closed the show with it in 2020.
Yeah, you did.
So you can't, I don't think you can close again with it. Right? So why not hype people up, Miles, and deliver Fable at the start?
Woo!
I don't know. I'm just throwing, I'm just spitballing here, you know?
Yeah, the first game is important. It sets the tone. It sets the tone. But if they don't show a full up gameplay trailer and then a date or something to start the show, is the tone of the Xbox showcase, hey, we're just giving you updates to what we've revealed? Because I think we'll see Fable. I want to see Fable in some capacity. But when I look at it at the start, I don't know because I don't think they're going to be like, hey, it's coming soon. I don't think it's going to have any date attached to it, which makes me feel like...
Well, I mean, even the PlayStation show that just happened, Fairplay didn't have a date attached to it at all. No.
CG
so
trailer.
Who knows?
What if, Rand? What if they give us another CG trailer for Fable?
No.
What if?
No.
What if they're like, I know you're tired of hearing about it. Here's a story CG trailer for Fable.
No.
That ain't. An
engine minimum. I mean, if it's your second time, no CGI trailer second time. Sorry,
no, I'll give you one. I am perfectly fine with one. Like, if you're doing it for a reveal, more power to you. I'm not going to complain at all. But after that, bring the goods. All right, let it cook and bring me the goods. Rand, what else are we seeing? You talked about the Persona 3 remake earlier.
I think that's there.
Those rumors are flying around. Last year, Xbox had that segment with Phil talking about the commitments to Japan and the project with Kojima. Do you think they do something similar this year and show fruits of that with, let's say we have the Persona 3 remake?
I think the show will be also heavy on Japanese presence. I think Microsoft is really focusing on that. So I don't know if they'll have Phil come out and talk about that again, but I do think there'll be a good portion of Japanese content.
I agree.
Now, I think that's just like Persona 3 remake and a few other things. I don't know, but I feel that in my bones.
I feel that, yes. I think that would be a smart play. I think that will be the play. We could see Persona 3 remake. I would love to see Overdose. I think if they're doing that, again, another big Japanese push, I think that would be cool. There's been the rumors of the Tango Gameworks JRPG. A lot of Xbox fans want to see Xbox, create its own games in that genre or partner with teams to create. And we know Xbox Games Publishing has a team in Japan now. They have a team dedicated to working with Japanese creators. So I think I'll just throw it out as a prediction. I expect to see one of those projects. I expect to see one of the Xbox Game Studios Japanese partnership projects outside of the Kojima joint confirmed as well. And to go one step further, Monster Hunter World 2 revealed at the Xbox show.
Oh, you're going all the way, huh?
Yep, I'm doing it. I'm saying it because again, I'm that Capcom figure it's drilling in my brain. It won't go away. There needs to be some quantifiable reason for that massive gargantuan number. And as big as Street Fighter is, it ain't it. Street Fighter's not going to do 20 million in a year. It's not. So, Monster Hunter World 2 at the Xbox Games Showcase, bro.
I like it. I like it, Miles.
Do you think Xbox will have any big third-party announcements?
They typically don't in recent years. Like last showcase they had Diablo and Overwatch because they had marketing for them. And even before that, I think the year before was what, Battlefield 2042 and Far Cry 6.
Yep.
They typically don't because they want to focus all the announcements on Game Pass to be like, hey, you watch the show, it's all on Game Pass. And we know big third-party stuff tends not to go to Game Pass on day one. So maybe there might be a couple that won't be in Game Pass, but usually because of the whole Game Pass stipulation, there really isn't. You know, it's the exception. So I'm going to say maybe there's one or two, but don't expect a lot.
So what we painted the picture of a pretty aggressive show here, Rand.
Have we? I mean, I don't know.
For me, when I look at this list, Xbox, I would not go into the show expecting updates to all the previously announced Xbox games. That's not going to happen.
Which we said, right?
Exactly. There will be a handful of updates, though. I think that combined with some new reveals, a couple key third-party announcements, and obviously the focus on Game Pass drops and collaborations, they are poised to have a great show. Even if the show is just, let's say, Hellblade 2, Avowed, Forza Motorsport, and one surprise. If that is the show, I think that is still a good show. I think that is still a solid show that shows the near-term future, hopefully, of Xbox. And you combine that with the Starfield Direct. And again, there's an hour and a half, so the show will definitely, absolutely be more than that. But I think even just that small slice it's a solid show. It's a really solid show. But I wonder, like you touched on, what Xbox's philosophy is going into this show in particular. We had a developer direct earlier in the year. Do you think they're planning one later on this year as well and saving some stuff for that? Or do you think they are still going into this show as this is the blowout? This is the biggest show of the year. We're giving you all of our biggest announcements here.
I don't see them having a developer direct at the end of the year. I mean, Starfield's getting its own blowout. Forza Motorsport had its kind of thing in January. Looks like it's getting an extra kind of look at it at the extended showcase, and they do Forza monthlies. So it really would make sense to do it for that. I don't know when they'll do a developer direct.
It's a great format, and people seem to like it.
I guess it depends on when they have a bunch of whole games coming in a row. Maybe sometime next year. I don't know. I would say there's no developer direct at the end of the year, and maybe there's one next year sometime. But we just need to kind of see what the layout is of 2024, and if there's like a section where it seems like there's a bunch of games, it's like, oh well, maybe you can have one before all this stuff and do something. I don't know. It's interesting, Miles. We have June 11th is going to be. It's going to answer a lot of questions and probably give us more questions.
Yeah,
maybe.
I got two final questions on the Xbox show. What are they closing with? First up,
I don't know. That's why. I mean, you could make the argument something new.
Yes.
But I don't think
that's usually the call.
I don't think you close with Compulsion's game. Maybe there's another game out there that we just don't know have any clue about that they could close with. It's possible they open with Avowed, close with Fable, or flip it and open with Fable and close with Avowed. Right? If they really feel confident in how, if like they're showing gameplay for Avowed and they feel really confident in how it looks, you could maybe close Avowed and give the year. Maybe they do it with Hellblade. Like if Hellblade is this year, maybe they close with Hellblade and it's like, here's Hellblade, what it looks like. And by the way, it's coming in November. And like end on that, like this game's coming soon. It's tough to make that call, Miles. I'm just not sure. So I mean, I'll just stick with open with Fable, close with Avowed. That's for right now. I reserve the right to change my mind for my own video when I make it.
Absolutely, yes. These things ebb and flow. They're still a couple weeks away. Things could change. I think Hellblade 2 closing, if they have a release date, or if they just say it's coming like holiday 2023, I think that answers a lot of the questions about like, yo, when can we play the big Xbox games? All right, we're kind of tired of waiting, but if you start the show with an Avowed or a Fable, set the tone, like that's a strong opener and that's a strong close either way, regardless of how it goes. But again, I think potentially wrapping it with a Hellblade 2, even though we've seen it already, even though it's not a brand new thing and we all want the new IP, set that messaging that you will be playing great Xbox games soon, very soon. Make that the last thing that people think about at the end of the show is like, I have questions about Everwild, I have questions about all this. Make those questions go away and distract people with the fact that you're playing a game soon. If they can deliver on that, if that's the goal, that's how you end it. I don't know that they're going to give a hard date for Hellblade 2, but if they can give us just a window that's soon, I think that is going to be enough to satiate some of the questions from Xbox fans. Secondly, and this is related, adjacent to the Xbox Game Showcase, let's say the Xbox Game Showcase is an absolute banger, slapper, masterpiece. Let's go to the Starfield Direct. Rand, will Starfield be 60 FPS? And will it matter?
I'm expecting Starfield to be 30. So if there is a 60, I'll be incredibly happy. But also, I sort of feel like that announcement of like, oh, by the way, it's 30 on console is not going to go over very well, right? At a Direct.
And what if, again, tinfoil hat conspiracy, what if that's part of the reason it's a separate show away from the Xbox Game Showcase? Separate thing. I know they want the time, they want the blowout time, but
I mean, Phil was asked if we would know what the frame rate would be, and it would be clear, and he said yes, right?
No, either way.
But like, I feel like an announcement of, hey, by the way, Starfield's going to run at 30, like that is a bad announcement, and maybe it's something you would want to announce before, or maybe they did the unthinkable, because Phil did say they got in there really early with HEG, the Advanced Technology Group, to really help out with that game, and to me, it's kind of like, you got in there with your best of your best, and all they could do was just get it to maybe run at 30, and who knows if it's even be lock 30. What if Todd just has the smirk, and he's like, we're proud to announce that Starfield on the Xbox Series X will have a performance mode that targets 60.
That's going to be, those are going to be the sweet words that people want to hear out of Todd's mouth. If those aren't the words, the conversations about Xbox and the console performance are going to be just regurgitated once again. But again, I don't know. They've given us no reason to expect Starfield will be 60. They've given us no indication that that's a target. They've shown us no gameplay of it running in 60. And so that really makes me wonder what it's going to be like in terms of the console expectation. So I would love to see it running on a Series X at this Developer Direct. Or not Developer Direct, but Starfield Direct. Do you think we get that? Do you think we get a...
I think they'll be clear about... I think because of what happened with Redfall, about, hey, we showed it on PC at 60 and then the stuff. I think they'll be very clear about, hey, the footage you're watching is captured on an Xbox Series X or it's on PC. So I think they want to completely eliminate that moving forward. They got reamed for it for Redfall.
Yes.
And I think that basically woke them up, and they're going to try to mitigate that as possible to be kind of similar to what PlayStation does. Captured on PC, captured on PS5, so you can see it, not actual gameplay, stuff like that, to be very transparent, to avoid situations like that moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. It's just let people know, because again, the assumption from your audience, and you let them assume this is indicative of what the console experience would be, because you didn't say otherwise. You showed the 60 FPS gameplay, and then As we learned with Redfall, that wasn't the case, but I know for a fact that Redfall was being tested at 60 FPS on Series X several months before the release. So clearly there was some sort of problem there, and I don't know what that problem was. But with Starfield, I think they really are going to have to answer that question just as bluntly and as honestly as possible. Like, will this game have a performance mode? And again, it's going to be interesting to see, given the scope and scale and history of Bethesda and the expectations of Starfield, because we've seen the takes of Starfield needs to do X, Y, and Z for Xbox, or Starfield is the most important game ever for Xbox. And so if it only has a quality mode on console, I'm not gonna be dramatic and say that's gonna like tank the game, but I think it's gonna be just another caveat to a big Xbox release. I don't think it necessarily needs 60 to be a good game. Again, I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. It's amazing. It's one of the best open world games ever. It's like 30-ish. Hard-ish on the 30 there. So I'm not going to say that Starfield's going to be unplayable, but Xbox has set the tone and precedent of the Series X being this powerhouse console, being this performant console. This is a huge first-party game for Xbox. So I'm like less than 50-50 that this will be 60 FPS. I'm leaning towards it'll be 30, but I would love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, so would I. So would I.
But we'll know. Phil Spencer said we will know either way. We can doom and say, well, the reason it's a separate show is because they want the bad news away from the Xbox show. So this is Bethesda. That's their thing. They keep messing up. That's, they have their own thing now, okay? We were together, but now that their games aren't hitting the way we want them to, no, they're a separate thing. But I do think, there's weight on Starfield, but I think if we can get an Avowed and a Hellblade, that'll honestly paint a very bright picture of the near-term future of Xbox. And then it won't be all about, oh, Starfield needs to hit. Oh, Starfield needs to be at 11 out of 10, whatever the discourse is. Like, if there's other games to look forward to, there won't be that much pressure on Starfield. Rand, let's wrap this joint up.
Miles?
We ran a gauntlet. We smashed through these predictions.
You're making me do all these podcasts. It's like,
woo!
8 hours of podcasting in 2 days. Thanks, Miles.
Hey, anytime, brother. I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday. I know you had to get up at the crack of noon to join me. But I do appreciate it, man. Again, like I said, I wasn't exaggerating when you were the first person I reached out to about, setting up the prediction show, because love talking to you. We can clearly we just rambled for 3 hours and 20 minutes. But appreciate you. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Again, want to give a shout out to everyone who's here, having fun, enjoying the show. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the like button, all that boring stuff. But Rand, appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking time.
I appreciate you, Miles.
Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say before we get on out of here?
You can always subscribe over at Rand al Thor 19, youtube.com/Rand al Thor 19, Xbox 2 every Friday with Jez. That's really it.
Jez Corden's Xbox 2.
Jez Corden's Xbox 2, yep.
Oh, man, no. Appreciate you. Obviously, your show is continuing to smash. You had, 2,000 people yesterday?
Yeah.
Over 2,000?
2,000 live. I mean, we had 600 today for this, right?
Yeah,
so
that's doing some numbers over here. Love to see it. Love to see
doing numbers.
Love to see the Xbox community, coming together, getting excited, because it's an exciting time. And I see people say temper your expectations or curb your excitement. It's fun to be excited. It's fun to buy into the energy, and I try to look at it as I am excited. I will go into the show excited. But I do need to reel myself in and know that, if my wildest dreams don't come true, that on the other side, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. But I think that's it. My brain's fried. We've been talking for a lot.
Yeah,
it's hot.
I'm hungry.
It's hot in here. I'm sweaty. Let's wrap it up, Rand. Let's let these lovely folks go enjoy their Saturday. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and have an amazing weekend. Take care, everybody.
Later.